Heyo.
My question for you was:
We watching Destiny Live.
Do you support a free
Let's
Palestine?
see what's going on. Do I support a free
What you mean by
Palestine?
free Palestine?
Yeah, that's kind of a
Okay, do you support the idea
Open
of
question.
being completely out of the borders of Gaza and the West Bank?
I think broadly speaking, yeah.
Yeah,
it depends
probably.
on what the new West Bank would look like, I
For
guess.
the most part.
But, I mean, obviously, whatever the negotiated territory would be for a Palestinian state, ideally the IDF wouldn't be there, but, yeah.
Okay, and has Israel been committing a genocide?
I wouldn't say so, but...
No?
Not yet.
based.
Not yet, really?
Yep, really, yep.
Wow, what a great argument. Really,
I
bro?
just feel like the constituent elements of a genocide aren't necessarily there yet. I don't think the goal was to eliminate a group of people. I think that they were just really aggressively pursuing other aims that probably weren't good, but I just don't know if we
True.
can cross the threshold into genocide.
What about the indiscriminate bombing of civilian camps?
I think if there was indiscriminate bombing of civilian camps, I think the death count would have been way higher.
The death count is extremely high.
Not even close to what indiscriminate bombing would look like. And I think it was like 23 miles
Okay,
wide.
what about all the leveled hospitals, targeting hospitals?
Yeah, I mean, that sucks. It's
Is
bad.
that not genocidal behavior?
I don't think so. I think firing from hospitals is pretty bad behavior too, though, right? The issue is like Hamas conducts itself in a way to induce the maximum amount of civilian damage and casualties. So, I mean, it sucks. But
The IDF calls itself the most advanced military in the world, but they can't
Bro, this is
conduct
such a one-sided
operations where they go
fucking
into buildings
position to have.
and kill specific targets.
Oh my god.
They have to bomb civilian hospitals where children are being treated and mothers are having their babies fertilized.
I mean, they
Vibes,
have
right?
conducted
Incubated.
special operations. They've conducted, larger bombings as well. I mean, war sucks. I don't know what to. I don't think there's ever been like a nice or a good.
It's not
war.
really a war, though.
It is a war.
I mean, when you look at the power difference from both sides and how long this has been going on since 1948, it's not a 2-year war. This is a very long problem. And right now, it's a genocide.
Sure, I guess. What would you have? What do you think the moral response would have been after October 7th?
Well, I think special operations to target
There
leaders
it
would have been
is.
the correct response, not
the
bombing
special ops
civilians.
answer.
And even in some cases,
The biggest
shooting
non-answer.
civilians, snipers targeting children and elderly women. And by the way, not just Muslims, but also targeting Christians outside of churches with sniper fire.
So what
That
do you think?
special
that's
ops
not
answer is
targeting
such a
Hamas leadership.
nothing
So what do
fucking
you think,
answer,
I mean, they
bro.
didn't kill
It
Hamas
kills
leadership.
me.
I'm sure they did, but that's also not only what they did.
So you think after October 7th, you think they should have just try to kill like a few leaders and then that's it, and then wrap it up and go home, or?
I think they should have still targeted Hamas, which is not what they were doing. They clearly cut off electricity, food, water. They have a complete blockade. They block aid. They attack World Health Organization workers. They attack UN health workers. The flotilla.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, like come
no,
on.
like the flotilla sucked. I'm sorry.
Yes,
flotillas
it sucked.
I think they're props for.
Oh come on, man.
I mean, they are right. They were literally throwing all the food overboard. The Mari Mullah or whatever that left in 2010 from Turkey
And
also
the
didn't have
drone
any aid
strikes
in
on
it.
the flotillas. That's not.
There were no drone strikes on the flotillas.
Seriously, there's videos.
They're
They
shooting them,
didn't-
shooting a flare and it pulling back.
Yeah, like this is
There is no drone strike.
ridiculous,
You can look at
bro.
the video. There's no exploded vessel.
This
there's
is
no
such bullshit.
Massive, sinking ship. Like it's pretty obvious what that was.
And what about the treatment of the people who they captured from the flotillas when they got to Israel?
They were treated fine.
mean
What are you talking
when they
about?
Beat up Greta Thunberg and then she did an interview the next day and she doesn't have a single mark on her. I'm sorry, I'm not believing these people.
Well,
Like,
that
it's-
wasn't even something she alleged. She wasn't talking about that. She was talking about the experience and the conditions that the other Palestinians in that prison were in, which, by the way, are horrible conditions. She wasn't even mentioning that, so it's not something that she was trying to stand on.
Sure. Why do you think Hamas wouldn't just release all the hostages after taking them initially?
Okay, because if they release all the hostages, what incentive does Israel have not to just bomb the whole place?
Ooh,
Well,
do
they
I
weren't
fuck up their
bombing them
mahjong game?
before October 7th, at least not as much, right?
They were. They
At the
definitely
same
were.
level, it's been the same level, really, for
Poor guy.
Definitely not
80
the
years?
same level. Definitely not the same level. But there was killing, and it is systematically trying to remove the people from the land. If you watch what some settlers do,
That's
and they're
not
encouraged to do this,
It's not
they go onto
systematic.
land, they steal houses with, they get armed by the Israeli military to go steal houses and beat up civilians, and it's encouraged.
So I'm not going to disagree on the settlers. I think it's a separate issue from Gaza.
So you do agree that that is a problem, though?
I think it's abhorrent. I think
The systematic colonization of the land. Do you think the land is being colonized right now?
I don't know if I use the word colonized, but the expansion of the settlements and everything. Can somebody hit the volume on this speaker a bit? I do have feedback. Whoever can do that over there. the expansion into the West Bank is unacceptable, and it's making it harder and harder or impossible to figure out any kind of like actual solution to the problem for sure.
Okay, and when you say solution,
Cool. Okay.
what is your idea of a solution to that problem?
Sorry,
The
bro.
solution is hard because in the West we conceptualize one solution,
Sorry,
and
bro.
then in Israel-Palestine, I think both sides conceptualize other solutions. Personally, like me and a lot of other people in the West talk about it are fans of like the two-state solution, but the people in Israel and Palestine and Gaza, the West Strip, like or in the West Bank, these guys don't necessarily favor a two-state solution, and it seems
Who's
like
watching?
kind of this vague idea of what a
Y'all
two-state solution
here?
even look like.
Who's in
But
here?
I feel like the issue is neither side really feels any pressure to like move into some kind of like actual peaceful agreement. For Israel, they just get to keep
Nick,
expanding into the West
yes.
Bank, and they get to enjoy the status
This
quo.
is so
I think that's what they want, though.
fucking
Yeah, for
cucked,
sure, but
bro.
Palestinians,
Why?
especially some of the violent
Why?
groups like Hamas, also enjoy,
Every time we
like, violence
can't,
because
we
of
just
their
can't.
political ends.
Like, there's a
Not that I'm saying I
literal
support Hamas, by
ceasefire
the way.
now.
I
There's a
just support
ceasefire,
a
and they're like,
free
but no,
and
no,
oppressed
we don't want to
Palestinian
stop.
people.
Wait, what do you
Sure, you
mean
can
a
do
that if you agree
ceasefire?
with
If there's a
Yeah, of course, I
ceasefire,
think
that
everybody
means
should
we don't
be
get
oppressed,
to
is what
talk
but
about
the
it anymore.
question is like, what does that look like? What does that final arrangement look like?
Man,
and I feel like there are
fuck
hard
these
questions
people.
about what East Jerusalem looks like, and especially like the refugee.
The fucking
stuff,
flotilla,
like,
I
what does that
can't
look like?
believe he
It
brought
feels
up
like
the
these are
fucking
conversations that
flotilla.
don't get talked about a lot in the West, and then there's not even any Palestinian leadership to talk to. I think largely because Netanyahu likes it that way in Israel, Palestine.
For
So,
sure.
Yeah. But I guess my frustration is when we talk about things like genocide or apartheid, people like to throw these loaded
Where are
words
the
at the region,
Republicans?
at the region, Israel,
They're
Palestine.
scared.
Now the UN did declare it a genocide,
They're
so I
scared.
mean,
Well,
I
the
mean,
highest
UN
court
committee-
legally declared it a genocide.
The International Court of
That's
Justice.
not
is basically
true.
Just like whatever UN
That's not
Special Rapporteur
true.
Committee, I
These
don't know
people
what
don't know
stuff.
anything. Oh.
The ICJ will eventually rule on it. Maybe they'll say that Israel.
The UN is not like
a
what?
genocide that is possible.
The UN is
But
not the
I
body
think
that
it has to be, like,
determines what a
some point, like,
genocide,
an
whether
understanding
something's a
that the
genocide or
UN
not.
or the
And if you
ICJ
look
or
at
the ICC is
these,
not gonna
if you
save
look at
this
these
region
different
from
committees who have made
a
these
difficult
decisions,
negotiation, which
the last
neither
one,
side
the
seems
one that
ready
they're all
or
touting
willing
around,
is being
was
encouraged
headed
to
by a
actually
South
participate in. Because I don't
African,
feel like
part of the
anybody wants to
delegation
talk about, like,
that
the
is
genocide
bringing
all day.
the
I don't know, like,
case
what's your
to the
conception of a free
ICJ,
Palestine
accusing
like?
Israel of genocide. The idea that they wouldn't have some sort of reason for them to hold that position
At the
is
very
ridiculous.
least, Israeli troops completely
Ah!
outside out of the borders and a Palestinian-run government. At the very least.
Sure, but like let's say that they completely withdraw. What are they withdrawing from? So like is all of East Jerusalem being left by Israel? Like it's not going to be given back because that's territory that's been like formally annexed at this point.
Well, I mean, if you ask me, it should be the 1948 borders.
The
I
48
get people
borders?
sometimes might not agree with that.
Yeah,
That's my
you
personal
think?
opinion. But just at the very least, the borders before October 7th. At the very least.
Sure, but that like I think that's what Netanyahu
The
wants to go
borders
back to, which is, like,
before
the
October
status quo.
That's what
7th
he
are
wants. I think
basically
that's what
the
he'll say,
borders
but I don't
now.
think it's what he wants.
I mean, the
Well, because
borders
prior to
haven't
October 7th,
really
like, the Gaza
changed.
Strip wasn't formally. There weren't IDF troops in the Gaza Strip. Like
They
still
haven't
controlled the
annexed
border,
it.
and there
It's
was a blockade and
ridiculous.
everything. Like they control what goes in and out. But they're like Hamas was the administration in the Gaza Strip, and there wasn't like IDF, presence there.
Unfortunately, when you oppress a people for
Oh,
about
God,
80
here we
years,
go. Oh,
they do
here we
rebel
go.
violently.
Okay, but I mean, when people rebel violently, they also get put down violently. So I don't know what the point of that.
I get that, but
Yeah.
I get that.
Why are we still pausing? Why do we keep pausing? What the fuck is going on? Huh? Okay, let me refresh. What the fuck? What the fuck?
That, but
They also get put down violently. So I don't know what the point
Oh,
of that.
I get that, but
it's
I get that, but
dropping out for everybody else too. Okay, it's not just me. Okay, good. Okay, good. I know. Nobody. Well, Nick, let's be frank here, buddy. Nobody outside. Nobody like almost nobody in this country understands foreign policy, for the most part. Like you talk to a lefty, you talk to a moderate. left, you talk to a moderate right, you talk to a centrist, you talk to a far right, 95% of people don't really understand foreign policy. They think they do, but they really don't, because they get it drip fed to them, right? They don't pay enough attention to what's actually going on to have a coherent position when it comes to foreign policy. They have these very high level, oh, no war, oh, we need to be good to all these people. Like, there's no nuance whatsoever. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And as somebody... Oh, yes, the fucking savior complex. Oh, my God. As somebody who grew up all over the world with parents who literally were involved in the execution of foreign policy, it's incredibly frustrating for me to see. I do my best to, like, have good conversations with people, try to teach people things, but, like, you know, sometimes it's
I've
just...
seen back and forth on who broke it.
What are
but
you gonna do,
regardless,
man?
like, I
Yeah,
would
I
say
just
that
did,
20-point
did.
plan, I think, is atrocious. I think it gives Netanyahu...
It's not a good plan, but
Yeah,
I mean,
because
it's at the very least a ceasefire.
Yeah, but it also allows Netanyahu to say they want to de-radicalize the Gaza Strip, whatever that means.
Right.
I don't even know if UNRWA like has permission.
How
to
come
anywhere over
nobody's
there.
mentioning the fact
the
that
West
the
Bank,
deal
now
also
Palestinian
says that
Authority gets
Israel
be
has to
informed of Netanyahu's
de-radicalize?
vision. A guy who
Nobody ever
you know, was part of the
mentions
party
that part.
arguably invented
Tiny's
the
not even
derivative
mentioning that
slogan,
part.
right, the Likud.
Why is he not
and
mentioning
it
that
just
part?
seems like if there's not like a serious conversation about like what does an end state of affairs look like, and we just like look for peace or a ceasefire. Okay, well, I mean, like I said, yeah, I feel like the status quo politically kind of favors the Palestinians because the UN makes these rulings and everybody screams apartheid, genocide, or whatever. Materially, though, I think it's favoring, I think, Israel. You know, we had, 100,000 settlers, I think, at the end of 67, and we're up to like 700,000 settlers in the West Bank now, and it's just getting worse and worse, I think. But
It's
yeah,
getting
I
worse.
appreciate the perspective.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
right, now-
dog shit debate, person. The same
Try to
debate
limit
we've
it
been
to,
hearing
two
for
questions, I've been
2
told. Go ahead.
years now. 2 years of the same
Hello, Mr. Destiny.
Hey, what's up?
shit.
What's up?
Headbutt. I've never formally debated, but there's one thing that I want to say, and
Okay.
I
Aw,
think it's
he seems nice.
the moral hazard in the world has gone
Every
for too
fucking time,
long,
dude. We can't
and
about
that we
anything
blame
without one of them
others
bringing up fucking
for
Israel, Palestine, and the
hung-
same talking points.
and that we blame others for things that we say we have no choice in.
Don't say
but
Palestine.
What happens is that
Don't say Palestine.
we depend on context being like freedom.
I don't
like,
wanna
when
make
people
fun
say,
of
"I
this
didn't
guy.
have
He
a
seems
choice,"
nervous.
right? But the choice wasn't theirs. So the binarity of society is proving to be problematic, and it's not giving
Okay.
as much benefits as it is to the whole
I know, it's so frustrating.
symptom like of the world, as opposed to like what the next step might be. So I was
Can you give me like give me an example of this? Like ground this out in something.
Yeah.
in
'Cause I
Detroit
think
Beyond
I
Human,
agree.
the androids.
Oh
are
my
Wait,
God.
a real life example.
Okay. Right,
Oh my
right.
God.
Okay, then the real life example would be,
That's a good game, though, to be fair. That's a
um,
great game.
Sex. Birds, they're invertebrates, and they're mammals, but they're not mammals. I'm sorry.
They're not
they're
invertebrates.
invertebrates.
They're
Their genes
vertebrates,
are
not
passed-
invertebrates.
Instead
They're
of the
vertebrates.
female having
My guy
XX,
is
the male
very
has,
nervous, and I feel kind of bad.
ZZ, so to speak, which is equivalent to XX. But so the males are the progenitors of 100% certainty as to what genes is passed on, whereas in humans, females have
50%.
XX, and then the males have XY. So in birds, it's the opposite, but we still base
What's
like
going on?
the conscious acceptance of male and female is it's not working anymore. And I think the next step. What do you think the next step of society might
Oh my
So are
god.
you kind of making this in reference to
My
like current
guy
people
is
today
a
in
little
society,
all over
or
the place.
be? I think they're the future.
Well, I mean that's a that's a take. So okay, let me rephrase this to see if I can understand. So
This sounds like a political
we have,
position that he has,
descriptions that
like,
we make
late night
about,
trying to
say,
like
you know, like
be
what
like,
sex and
oh, I
gender
think
is.
things of the
And
future
then
when he's
in
like with his
future, there
bros
seems to be some
smoking weed.
issue, we'll say the issue, quote unquote, is trans people, and then we say, well, we can't categorize.
I'm trying not to
people,
make fun of him too
because
hard.
We can't. We pretend that we can't means we are not able to, and then we like that.
Nuclear.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, this is gonna be kind of a boring, unsatisfying answer. I think that there's a lot of things when it comes to categories of things that we make that we talk about. I think that when you look at a lot of these things philosophically, we assume that we're standing on much stronger ground than we actually are. So people like to say when it comes to trans people, like, oh well, like sex is a scientific fact or gender is a social construct, or people will say things like like for abortion, like science can tell us when a life begins, or science can tell us whatever. But none of these things are really true. Like these are just kind of like observations. The way that things are like grouped is kind of like a human thing, right? Like why do we identify things as trees instead of like collections of bark or cells or whatever
bushes.
else?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And really, and some people get triggered or whatever, but like it's the same thing, honestly, even with like sex and gender. Like my opinion, every category is somewhat socially constructed. Like there doesn't exist in nature like the category of male or the category of female, but there's like collections of traits that seem to be true that we kind of group, and we group these things because generally they give us utility. There's like a reason why. Like when I ask you, can you bring me, like a fruit?
Accurate.
And somebody brings you a fruit, it's probably because you want to eat it, right? You're looking to do something with it. So we group these things because they give us some utility.
Do some of
I think
that
when it
fruit.
comes to like sex and gender, I think there's still like a lot of utility in these categories. I know that there are social areas where people would like to either expand or change or kind of like mold these definitions a bit differently. I feel like for the most part, I think trans people can be kind of incorporated into the stuff that we have now. We've got transgender and cisgender if we want to differentiate, in any way, but I think we have to be really careful when we're advocating for really abolishing such a widely used category to incorporate like a really, really small percentage-wise number of people, because I think it's going to make everybody else really mad, and there's going to be like a social blowback, and people will be less willing to accept it otherwise, is my kind of take, yeah. But so I would say that you wouldn't, but not because it's impossible, because you can't, but because you...
Yo! Oh, shit, Nuclear. Good luck,
Yes.
buddy. Holy
It's
shit.
Can I respond or should I go?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, go respond, yeah.
That's wild, my dude.
The Socrates said, "I think, therefore I am."
Oh,
I think that
Daniel!
is an impression of his will onto everyone who says, "I think." Right?
Salute,
It
buddy.
is his will. We credit
Thank
that
you.
to him. So the existence of the
Have
Socrates,
fun in
just in a book,
Venezuela.
has expanded his life well beyond his natural means. And nowadays, we have a very hard time finding individuality. I mean, I can't even think of one thing that is like my own without it being inspired by someone else's derivative work, right? And
bro.
I can't find a way to elevate the group consciousness without being seen
That's
as
some
an
wild
aggressor,
shit.
because they say they have the right to protect all that they've done, and that their right to protection is that they have no choice because they want to continue to live, and that the will to want freedom is not evil, but
Obviously.
Sure. So I guess, like, are you familiar with the term the Overton window?
Mm.
So some people say that there is like a certain political...
Here we go.
um,
Overton window
imagination, I guess,
shit. Let's
that
go.
extends to a certain distance to the left and a certain distance to the right. And I think that there are two kinds of like Overton windows. Some people say the one refers to it, but like there's two kinds of things. You have like an established Overton window, and then there's like this discovered Overton window. So there's a range of what is politically acceptable that people think is politically acceptable, but then there's like a range of...
And then
stuff
there's
that's actually
Hassan
politically
on the
acceptable.
outside of
I would
that.
say that like in 2016, one of the Trump things was that Trump discovered, inadvertently, because I think he's a fucking idiot, but Trump discovered that the actual capacity for right-wing
Yeah.
populism was way larger than
Yeah.
what existed in the imagination of even the ordinary
Yeah.
individual American, right? And especially for
It be
political
like that.
and so, like, I look at, when you're trying to push things socially or push things, creatively or whatever, like, you have
Oh,
your,
Nick,
your
that's
bubble of
that's
what
actually a
everything
good
is,
point.
but
What you
there's a
said in
second
Destiny's
bubble
chat.
of
That would
what
be
is the
pretty cool.
capacity for people to understand, and that second bubble is, like, what you're trying to expand into without going way beyond it, Like, there is, if you were to take late Beethoven and you were to play it for somebody, like the late classical period, they think like, oh, okay, this is like pretty out there, but like maybe it's kind of cool, whatever. But if you were to take like, impressionist composers, or if you were to go further on and, to your Schoenbergs and your crazy serialistic guys or whatever, you were to listen to these people in the classical or further back, your Baroque, whatever, they'd be like, this is trash, I can't understand this. And just the reason why is because as movements like exist and expand, there's like a capacity for expansion based on what is already
Maybe
socially
like-
there. But if you try to go too far, just nobody's going to have the psychological,
Maybe
emotional,
like
social
Benny
vocabulary to even
Johnson.
understand
I mean,
what they're
Alex
trying to
Jones
do,
is
I guess,
pretty
in that sense,
good.
right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
Or maybe
cool.
like Benny
Thank you so
Johnson.
much. Yes.
Break the sound barrier, raising my flag for the past
Just a
several
reminder,
combos.
speak up into the microphone. try to speak up because it's kind of hard to hear.
How are you?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Hey.
I got 2 questions now.
Oh no! Oh, look at his fucking hat!
Before you guys.
Oh
Okay, a little
no!
background on myself. I spent my whole life being an activist and fighting for criminal justice reform. You know, I fought for voices that were unheard and families that didn't think that they had a voice. I fought to end solitary confinement in New York. I fought to limit qualified immunity. I fought so that inmates could have at their own convenience the ability to call their families and children at home. I choose to look at redemption and second chances. And one of the things that made me distance myself from the Democratic Party fully is that I sat there and fought for these people. I saw it as rehabilitation and second chances. I saw a different side of people that society chose to see. And when I looked at the Democratic Party campaigning, the biggest thing that they focused on, instead of actually policy,
Sean
that would've been
Hannity.
done to
Okay,
win the
yeah,
election.
that's a good one.
But instead they focused on criminal conviction, and he's a felon, and he's a felon, he's a felon. And that resonated with me, because now I'm sitting here dedicated my time to defending these people and changing their visual in society and giving them a second chance. And that rhetoric tore all that down. It replaced that stigma on these people who have done their time back in society and trying to rebuild their thing. How do you feel about that?
I can understand where you're coming from, but I feel like from a perspective of somebody who might have been a felon and might have served time, I feel like that rhetoric is probably some of the most important, because the big deal with Trump wasn't that he was a felon, it's that he avoided all the responsibility, all the culpability, all the accountability of the crimes that he committed. I feel like the big issue with Trump, and the reason why people kind of like fixate on this, is because people like to pretend that he did nothing wrong, which I think is kind of like the worst thing you can do for somebody that needs to reform their behavior or needs to change, like the course their life is on. And I think kind of inarguably, when we look at the Trump second term, like the lack of accountability
like
is
Sean Hannity
incredibly
for that.
obvious,
That's a
because
good,
he hasn't admitted to any
comparison.
faults or any mistakes, and he is barreling down the same pathway, 10 times the speed.
So prior to Trump, should a convicted felon have been president?
Um,
Could have convicted felon have been president?
I believe so, yeah, right?
They can't vote, but I'm saying in your opinion. Because that rhetoric says that this person, that's all I heard.
Oh, for the
convicted felon shouldn't be president. A convicted felon. And in my mind, nobody should be judged by the worst days of their lives. 1,000%. And our criminal justice is far from
That
perfect.
is
A lot of people are
a
wrongfully because of
fucking
their choices. So I don't look at
sweet,
anybody. In
dude.
my mind, somebody's guilty.
Oh my
when they're
god,
accused,
bro.
not just the system says.
Come
And
on,
honestly, I trust
man.
my life.
Holy
And I
shit.
have this my entire
That
life.
is not
Two
a
convicted
judging by
felons
the
more than I
worst
would some
days of
regular
our life type deal.
non-criminal
My guy
So that's where that
fucking
rhetoric came in. The
knowingly
second
broke
issue
the
that I'm
law,
trying
I
and
guess
it's
to speak on that
definitely
first
not
thing,
the first time
yeah,
he did
like,
it.
if you're a convicted
Get the
felon,
fuck
you can run
out
for
of
president or
here,
do whatever
bro.
else. Like, I'm a big believer that if you serve your time or if you've gone through the process, you've gone through the system, then you're through the system, right? Like, I don't know what else, people. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you insofar as that's it. But again, I would say that there's like two things going on. That is a
Good
little too loud 'cause it's gonna-
lord, bro.
I can hear the feedback a little on the speaker. Okay. The issue that you run into is for Trump.
You
is
gotta
the
be
fact that he didn't
shitting
serve any
me.
time and there was no accountability. That's one of the reasons why the Democrats went in so hard on them. But then the second issue is that the Republicans are the ones generally that talk the big, no criminals, no felons. We need to put
Yes.
people in prison. And
Hypocrisy.
because of that, I think that's another reason why the rhetoric was thrown at Donald Trump. I think when you look at the two parties, I think it's pretty clear which one is a bit more vindictive when it comes to
Tiny
like
tisming.
criminal
Yeah, I would be
conviction-related
too, to be
stuff.
fair.
It's the same.
Yeah, that's starting to annoy me
Yeah,
too.
once it gets turned
What
down,
the
don't turn it back up. Okay, we're
I
on the
feel
speaker.
that,
Okay,
bro. I feel
the-
that.
I hear it over here. It's driving me crazy. Sorry. Okay, let me reset. I think it's similar to sometimes when there are Republican candidates that get outed for like gay scandals or whatever.
Oh my God.
People on the left
Oh my
make fun of
God.
them. It's not because they become anti-gay, but it's just a little bit hypocritical because in every other circumstance,
That
like,
is really
conservatives are
annoying.
so big on punishing crime and punishing people as much as they can. I'm sure you. I don't know what your particular stance is on guns, but if you've ever filled out like a 4473, you have to fill out that question of like, are you an unlawful user of narcotics, including cannabis, marijuana? And they got Hunter Biden on like he had a gun, but he also did drugs at the same time. And for a group of people that are ordinarily so pro-gun and so anti-ATF, it was crazy to see all of them cheering and clapping for that Hunter Biden conviction.
Well,
So, yeah.
that's what the parties are. It's a bunch of hypocrisy. Like for
Well-
example, the last gentleman or the first gentleman talked about Palestine. Now, I would counter that argument and storytell. Do you think that Native Americans and indigenous people have the right to exist?
Well, to exist, of course.
Okay. Native Americans and indigenous people have the right to exist.
Oh,
Well, to exist, of course.
To
so then
exist?
why aren't you parading and celebrating and having the fight for their land back? Why am I standing in Mexico right now?
Yeah,
By
I
that
mean,
same logic.
I'm not going to disagree there. I think that gets hairy. But I would say that the hypocrisy on the conservative side is around almost every single issue right now. I would say
Yes.
that the hypocrisy on the left tends to be with kind of like the more activist crowd, but like the legislative crowd or the legal crowd or the elected people. I
Yes,
think it's
they are
very
not very
hypocritical.
hypocritical.
But at
The
least
legislative
I give
people
the conservatives and the
in
red
the
the
Democratic
credit
Party.
because they at least take stances.
Well, but
You know,
they,
I think
yeah,
that
they
was
take
one
a
of
lot
the
of
big-
stances and
that-
they change them constantly.
Yeah, but so do the Democrats.
I don't agree.
I absolutely agree. The fact that you can give an ambiguous answer and the fact that you mentioned October 7th like 40 times.
Yeah.
Well, what about October 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and every day up until this point? What about every day before? The fact that since that time you could only mention one day.
Bros get mad.
And your excuse is, oh, the numbers. You can't even let journalists in there to get the right numbers. That's number one. And your excuse is because of the numbers. So basically, since they suck at genocide, they can't be genocidal. That's basically what that logic came to.
No, I think they could do a genocide pretty good if they wanted to. I mean, like, we could talk about other dates if you want. I mean, October 7th was one that came up, but
What is
Social
this
media.
argument?
Is the only reason why the Palestinian people have any kind of dignity and any life left. Because if that media blackout was not broken through independent sources, there would have been a full-fledged flattening of Gaza. And the fact that you can't even take a stance to make that full-fledged answer of it. That was the problem with the last election, is that they couldn't take one single stance to say, hey, you know what? Why? Because money talks.
sure.
And I'm
T-
sorry, but
I
you
mean,
cannot put a value on somebody's life.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You're just completely wrong, though. There wasn't widespread media in '48 when the Nakba happened. There were still
Exactly.
but there were still 100,000
And that's
Palestinian
why the
Arabs
borders
that were left in
changed.
Israel. They didn't all get stomped then, so that didn't happen then. There wasn't widespread media coverage in '67 when they took the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and expanded into the Golan Heights. There are still Palestinians left there. They weren't completely genocided without widespread media coverage. You had the whole first Intifada. You had the second Intifada. They were still there afterwards. So I mean, listen, I love Americans. You can come up and scream and get all hype or whatever.
it's
for it,
not
but the
healthy
reality
or
is, if you don't have like a solution for the problem, you don't have an actual way to fix things. Like you can get here and get indignant
How
about it, but
dare
it's not gonna get
you.
anybody anywhere, and that's all.
The
that,
great
like,
solution?
Yeah.
Let them figure it out. Why am I paying
The
for
great
it? Because you know what? When you
solution?
start funding it or start
Oh,
funding
there it is. Let
then
them
the
figure it out.
conversation's going to start.
No,
There's-
then the conversation's gonna end because they're just gonna kill them all.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll go turkey on it. They'll say, oh well, we're not getting funding. We don't have any commitment to the West
Seems
anymore. Well, that's
speculation,
good.
but the fact that you could
What's
justify
insane about that?
What's insane about
It's
it is
insane
that the
when a
world.
country to the north of them, it killed 500,000 Arabs. It happened in Syria. We saw 60,000 children starve to death in Yemen, right? Over the past like 10 years. You've seen how many people die in
Congo
Sudan.
and Sudan
You've seen how
and
many
shit,
people.
right.
No, I'm not even going all the way. We don't have to go that far out there now. I'm just saying
But
that the region is a very violent region.
how much
so
of
to say
that are
it's
we paying for?
unbelievable. How much of that? I mean,
How much of that we paying for?
Is that the only issue that you have with it?
No, it's not the only issue, but I
But
have a
why does it-
problem.
Put a
so
price
like,
on
I have
life
a
and also
problem
when you
with
keep people on
supporting
Medicare,
Israel
then
monetarily.
yeah,
Are
yep,
you
then
like,
it's
oh, okay,
effing.
well, you
Yep,
wanna justify it, but you're
100%.
not paying for it. Now you're-
100%.
But you know what? That is a leverage point. The same thing, the same gentleman, and I'm glad he brought the point up. Why release the hostages? Because Israel's bombing the shit out of them, killing their own hostages, bombing the shit out of them beforehand. That
Yeah,
was
so it
their
doesn't
only
look-
But how do
leverage
we
point.
know
You
What's
wanted
the
them to
leverage?
give
that they've
out
been killing their
their
own
hostages.
hostages?
What was the leverage?
human bodies.
No. What did they get for the leverage? You said they still got bombed. It wasn't
They still
helping.
got bombed. The
Yeah,
whole
so what-
ceasefire deal was to at least hold on to that little bit of leverage, and then
No.
they returned them, and they're still getting
The
bombed now.
reason why they held on to them is because they
The
wanted
bombing
fighting
is
to
there
continue.
is no bombing now.
Why? What else did they?
They're
get?
back on
Fighting
the
continues, didn't it?
ceasefire. There was one issue,
It is going to continue.
and the
Because nothing's
ceasefire
being done
is
about it
back in
because there's no
place.
penalty. There's no repercussion.
I
The
agree
fact that we
with that.
hired, we've collected. The world doesn't agree on not a single thing in this world, ever. And that's one thing that they can agree on, is that it's the genocide and war crimes that are being committed. That is the world against us. That has never happened in my history of my life. And you have viewers saying, oh, they're not credible. They can say whatever they want.
I'm not-
How does
what-
that make
if you wanna
sense?
the quibbling is over the specific term of genocide. If you want to say that war crimes have happened, I absolutely agree with that.
And
If you
your
wanna say-
defense to why genocide is not a genocide is because the numbers aren't there.
No, it's
so
not-
because
it
they
has
suck
nothing
at
to do with
genocide.
Oh, this is
Because
so
You
stupid.
don't care about any of the dead people. You
This is
understand
so
that, right? You wanna say that
stupid.
you're
Once
obsessed with this
again,
one term,
more
and you
people
wanna go
just
back to
don't
the By the way,
understand the
that's what they are.
definition
They
of the
don't
word
understand
and
that.
how
That
it's
is totally
determined.
good for
It's
them.
just,
You
it's so
wanna obsess over the word. Like,
frustrating.
fine, the whole world can say it's a genocide. How far have they gotten? How much is the Declaration of Genocide
All right,
from
well-
the 57th Independent UN Commission?
So-
how much closer? No, tell me. How much closer has it gotten them to an actual peaceful agreement? We're at the 20-point plan, which is Netanyahu's wet dream. How much of the
Are you-
genocide
are you
accusations
finished?
helped?
Are you
I want
finished?
you to tell me how much the genocide accusations have helped.
I'm gonna tell you how it helps.
Okay.
Of those killed, How many were Hamas and how many were women and
I
children?
didn't hear an answer to my question.
How many
I want you to
were
tell
children?
Me, I want you to tell me how much has the genocide accusations helped? How much closer are we now than we were to October
It has
6th?
helped a lot because when that
How?
word started being brought out, more investigations started happening. And people started doing it, and organizations that are not affiliated with either side started putting their foot forward and saying, hey, let's see if this is actually true. These numbers
What?
haven't moved up.
That's not
At
what
the scale they
happened.
were moving up at a point. Let's see why that is. Where are journalists? Why aren't our organizations that are unaffiliated not being allowed in? Why is aid not being there? Why are people starving? All of that
All
happened
I'm
because
hearing
we
is
started
nothing.
using
So
those trigger
nothing has
words.
happened?
So because we started
So
using the
nothing has
words is the
happened.
reason why they started actioning happening.
Gotcha. So nothing
Now-
has happened. Nothing will happen, right?
In
Everything
the
you're saying,
future
you're
of
talking,
it, the
and I
strategy, if
understand.
I wanted to genocide a people,
Yeah.
what I would do is stop the reproduction. So I would kill the women and children, which are the next generation to
Oh
line up,
my
and hopefully stop going
God.
down from there. You know where they did that? The United States did that to Puerto
Oh
Rico when they tried
my
to sterilize
God.
the women in Puerto Rico to control the population.
Here we go.
Bet you don't speak about that. Did
I-
you know
I've
that?
heard-
Did you know the United
Bet
States?
you don't
I
speak
know there's a lot
about
of things I
that.
don't
I
know.
used to
you know
defend,
the
so-
largest revision in death in the Gaza Strip was the revising down.
Down. It was revising
Killed, because they realized
down.
that those numbers initially were there was a huge discrepancy between the Gaza Health Ministry
But
and
reported
the
by
media
who?
arm reported by Hamas and reported by the Gazan
Now-
Ministry of Health. But I'm just saying that like at
My
the end of
Where
the
are the
day-
Hamas
God, dude
leaders
has no
live?
clue. He's got no
I don't know
idea.
how many are left alive.
Where do they live? Do you think they live in Gaza?
Well, they were getting killed in Qatar and in
Oh,
Syria.
so they're not.
a lot of them weren't.
in
No,
Gaza.
correct.
Okay.
I think
So
Sinwar
just
was
like when
killed
we
in
target
What the
Gaza.
fuck is this guy talking
The
about?
cartels, a lot of those real, actual cartel leaders live here. So you can kill the pawns of Hamas all you want, and all you're doing
Well,
is
they killed
creating
the
a
leadership of
perpetual.
Hamas as well, right?
One guy, and if
No,
that's
they-
if
No! Oh my God, this guy
God.
has no. No, this guy has no clue. Leave. Go away.
Can I just say, okay? My
Oh,
issue
good.
is-
He told him to fuck off. Good. I'm
Have
glad.
I-
He has no
you know,
fucking
people
clue.
who are
This
against
guy
that, I
has
understand
no
people
idea
on
what's
both
going
sides.
on.
People assume that I'm this crazy Zionist.
Yeah,
the
right?
behavior
Oh
that
my
they
God.
think, I think that the amount of death has been crazy.
If someone
I
said
think
that to
there are,
me,
like,
I
clear
agree.
examples
That's
of
time
this
time for you to
crazy
go because you actually don't actually know what you're talking about. Just one guy. Are you fucking stupid, dude? You have not been paying attention to anything.
As long as we declared a genocide, like we're good. It's like it hasn't gotten us anywhere. We haven't gotten anywhere. All the terms, all the apartheids, all the genocides. B'Tselem is like the organization in Israel that's
Nothing
keeping track of the
has
Palestinian
gotten us
issue.
anywhere.
I agree, but what has to happen is like a real thing needs to happen. So like right now, Trump is a total Israeli sycophant. So the U.S. won't do anything because Trump just wants to move on from it.
We spent
right?
2 years under Biden under it, or a year under Biden under it.
True, but I mean, like Biden at least had a little bit more restraint on the Israeli side than
No, he
Trump
didn't.
does on Netanyahu. You think that
He sent a shit ton of money for that to happen.
yeah, but do you think that Trump and do you think that Biden gave the same length of leash
I
to
think they're
Netanyahu?
two birds of the same feather. That's what I think.
So the political party that arranged the JCPOA, the
I'm not
nuclear
gonna.
agreement,
So
the
here's the
nuclear deal
thing.
with
You're not
Iran,
gonna convince me party rhetoric. I'm people over party all day, every time.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
listen.
Talk about
I can-
parties are the government that run our foreign policy.
Yeah,
The people don't
unfortunately,
do-
that's the creation
that's
that
not
y'all
unfor-
did,
that's the
and that's the
apparatus
reason
Oh
why we have
my
no, it's
God,
absolutely not.
bro.
Parties are the destruction of this.
Stop
country.
talking to this guy.
What
This
the hell
guy's
is the
not
immune
interested
system?
in
Like,
any
you
good
said
faith
you have to have a whole
discussion.
apparatus.
Get
Why
this
don't
guy
you pick up
out of
rifles and
here,
go to
bro.
Gaza and fight
Why?
off the IDF. Like you have to work through the establishment system that, right?
I'm glad you're not leading our military strategy. For
Oh my God. Bro, you don't have a fucking clue. You don't know anything about what's going on. You've already
First off,
demonstrated
the fact that we
that.
are having these barbaric wars in modern day times is ridiculous. The fact that it's costing us this much, the reason why I bring up the cost
Seriously.
so much is because do you know how much it costs to fix homelessness here in America?
No,
dropped it.
it's
Estimated
whatever
about
number
$20
you're
billion
about to say.
a
Yeah,
year.
there's no way that's true.
There's no way.
I don't think so.
There's no way.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, I guess you're right because if you think about it, if only you can kill off half of Gaza with what 100 billion. There's enough to kill off all the people. I guess you can't feed them.
Why not? You were actually indiscriminate bombing. You could probably do it for a lot cheaper. But what is the estimated number of homeless people in America?
Classless
You know, I'm not
stateless
trying to put you
retard.
on-
I don't know the exact number, but I know 18% of that number is veterans.
Okay, isn't this like? Do you know the number, Brian? You should know this. Number of total homeless people in America. Who knows it? I'm gonna make a guess that it's in excess of 1 million people.
Too many.
My guess is in excess of 1 million people.
Too many.
So when somebody says like $20 billion would fix it, like what would that be, like $20,000 a year per person? Like, and it's probably the number's probably greater than that. Like, I think homelessness is an issue that requires money and like political will. But because everybody views homeless people as either political props or subhuman, I just don't think there's like the will in America to get anything done. And because Republicans won't talk about it because they all moved
But
to the West Coast.
that's
and
where it
everything.
comes to political party polarization, like I mentioned. The parties are the ones creating the divide.
Yeah, but
for example,
but if you,
who
if
has
you,
run Chicago for the longest time is Democrats.
If you gave
and
them-
so the Republicans use Chicago, which is one of my favorite cities here in this country, as such a negative crime-ridden country. And I've walked the streets of Chicago. I've been on the south side where they say is the worst
Here we
part.
go.
And it's kind of sketch sometimes, but that's everywhere you go.
Yeah, I agree.
But the fact that they have, in the time that they've run Chicago this whole entire time, haven't said, hey, let's work on Chicago and put the resources where we really need to be so that they can stop using that as a talking point, that's where I have a problem.
Sure,
But
that's
because
fine.
the
I
divide and
kind of
polarization
even
keeps
agree
apart,
with what he's
that's the
saying
reason
here
why
to an
parties suck.
extent.
Okay, I'm
But
curious.
that
Let's
doesn't
say
mean that all the
you
other
want
things that
homelessness
you're
next
saying
year,
are fucking
and you
true.
could give
It's the
one
problem.
party all the power.
That doesn't mean that
Supreme
Trump's
Court,
response is the right one
Do you think
either.
that
That's the
Republicans and
problem.
Democrats would have the same capacity to fix that problem, to take the same approach.
Neither of them. It's
No,
not.
no,
It's
what
not
if you-
beneficial
so if you
for
had to
them.
pick one, you think it's the same. You think it's a wash either way.
I don't think I should pick either one. 56% of all registered voters right now are independent voters. People are leaving their parties in droves. That number
First-
before the 2024 election was only about 54, 53.
Are you thinking about people that haven't voted, or
No, I'm talking about registered voters right now are 56 to 57% independent registered.
that sounds way too high?
That is absolutely true. Check it out.
No. Most
Yeah. Nevada won. Nevada is a purple, whatever
Is
color
that,
you want to
is
put
that
it.
just in states that don't require you to like be registered for
That
the party
is
to vote in the primary?
National Voter Registry.
Okay, regardless, do you so you
And
think
the reason
that,
why is because of every one of you young folks out here.
Do
Because
you
y'all are
think-
at least doing the due diligence
do you think
to sit there and register like you want. You're not saying I'm going to pick a side and put on a team jersey. You're saying talk to me. Let me hear what you got to
Bro,
say. Because they're the reasons why
relax.
these elections have changed ways.
Sure,
They're
but
the
at the-
reasons
at
why
the-
we're here
Chicago's
right now.
failed
and
me.
you're
He's still
choosing to
here
do this
talking.
now
He
after
should be
Charlie
bullying
Brown's doing
more
it
of
for
the
16
South
years
Side
or however
White
many
Sox
years
fans if
because
it
he
was-
knew that the people, the young folks were going to be the future. And that's why you're here trying to imitate the exact same thing,
First
but
of all, I'm not
you're
trying to.
spinning
I
the
would
same
never.
rhetoric.
I would never be so low that I would imitate such a loser like Charlie Kirk. Number one, okay. Number two, okay. I've been doing these events for.
Charlie
a long
Kirk
time.
had the balls to talk against Israel.
So I have the balls to talk about it. What do you mean? I was in Israel, in the West Bank. I've been probably to Israel and Palestinian
go to
territory
Gaza.
more than-
I'm
I've
in
been
a
there.
box.
West
I'm a
Bank,
cat in a box.
That's not
I've been
Gaza.
there.
Yes!
I go to
That's
Gaza right now while it's
Palestine.
being bombed.
Not
I can't go
Gaza.
to Gaza while it's being bombed. But I've been to the West Bank. Okay, I've had a Palestinian tour guide. I've been there. I've done the homework. I know more about it than you, and more about it than Charlie definitely
Oh,
did.
you
I
do.
promise you.
You do.
Okay. Number one. Number
do.
two. All right.
You want to
At
hear
the
my
end of the day-
you want to hear my credentials on
At
Gaza?
the end of the day, you have to work through some apparatus. When you come out, you just say, "Oh, both sides are the same. Oh, who matters? It doesn't matter who you vote for. Oh, let's all be independent." Nothing's gonna get done.
I'm gonna tell you my credentials on Gaza.
Okay.
So after October 7th, I was running for office, and someone very close to me reached out and said, "Hey, I have a family, an American family in Gaza stuck, beginning before the heavy, harsh bombing started." And I said, "Why can't they come out?" They said, "They're not letting anybody out." I said, "But they're American." They said, "They don't care. Their passports lapsed because of the delay, and they weren't allowed in Jerusalem to get their passports reinstated." Do you know I took that job on. It's a family of 5. I contacted every single Democratic congressman that I had contact to. One, they didn't care because they were Utah residents. So they're like, contact that representative. I'm like, I'm contacting you. You sit next to that person. Talk to him. No one wanted to help. The one person that actually did help me, surprisingly, I won't say his name, but is a Republican hella Zionist on TV. But I at least sat down with him and he said, "You know what? I don't care where they're from or who they are. I agree with you that they are Americans. Let me get their passports expedited."
Bro,
Let me see what we can do.
why
And we
do
did it. We
people
got it
think
there. We got it done. We sent
anecdotal
them to Egypt and they got them through
evidence
Cairo
is-
and we got
is
them out of
so
Gaza, that family of
persuasive?
5.
It's not.
Where were the Democrats then?
How old were the people in this family?
One, the youngest was 10, turned 11 as soon as he got back here.
How
And
do they get into their passports? Were close to expiring. Normally, if it's within 6 months, they won't even let you in another country
They moved there. They had initially moved there for the grandfather's business
to live in Gaza.
to live in Gaza. That's what they were.
Okay.
And then all of this stuff happened. They tried to renew their passports. They were not getting allowed in citrus. We did that. A Republican Zionist congressman
Oh my
helped
god.
me get that done.
So are all Republicans good now? I don't know
No,
what
but I'm
supposed
just
to take
saying.
from that statement.
Exactly.
When
Like,
you
what
take
is this?
Party out of it. When you
No,
take
what is
this
somebody as a
argument supposed to
person
be?
as part instead of their party affiliation and
This
start
is
grouping
great
everybody
for the
together.
5 people that you helped, but what does this have? This doesn't get us
Well,
anywhere.
imagine
in
if
regards to
I
the-
can help 5 people. Imagine if you sat there, took a side, and said, "Hey, let me help another 5 people." I used to be anti-gun until I started getting.
No shit, you aren't going to find it
informed of my own
easy.
history. Used to
Border
be
cross
hella
borders between 2
anti-gun.
warring countries.
And I used to think, hey,
Whoa!
the military, we're not going to overthrow the military. They have all this arsenal of
Shocked
everything going on.
Pikachu
And then I got to
phase.
travel and campaign all across this wonderful country. I met people of all different ages, genders, and races. And I was in Alabama with one of my great friends, and he sat there and he said he loves his gun. He has every fucking possible arsenal of gun you can have. And I said, why do you like it? And he said, well, because I'm going to defend my rights. And I said, but I said the same thing. Your military, well, they're never going to turn. I used to think that. They're never going to turn the military against us. And what are you going to do? And he said, I'll tell you what I can do. I'm probably going to die, but I'm going to take out 5 people. And if I could take out 5 people, numbers are coincidental, someone else can take out. If someone take out, the people overpower it. And I used to think that the United States would never turn their army until I found out in 1950 when Puerto Ricans like myself were trying to fight for independence, and the United States bombed Puerto Rico. U.S. citizens. That magically gets erased from history. So, there you go.
Okay. All right, I'll go.
Yeah.
All right, quick announcement. We are going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to try to fix the audio issues, I've been told. If you can't hear,
Dude, if
we
you
ask that
haven't
sit up
watched
a little
this
bit closer.
guy's
A lot of
radio
people gotta lean
show,
back. Move up a little
he's
bit closer.
fucking
We're
awesome.
gonna fix
I
some
love
audio
this guy.
issues, a quick 2-minute break, and then
I
we'll be
love
back.
this
You guys can
guy.
form a
He's
line
so
if you wanna
much
come up
fun
here.
to
Okay,
watch.
just
He's
take 2 minutes.
unfucking hinged.
Also,
But
thank you very much for chatting with me.
here,
Thank you.
let me actually pull up like one of his video clips while we're waiting. Brian Johnson. Wait. Is that it? Is it Brian? No. Wait, what's the name of the thing? Oh, fuck. I can't remember the name of the show. God damn it. Fuck. Hey, Aurora. Welcome. We're watching debates. She's in here. How are ya? Hi, in here now. I'm Dad. Gosh, what was his... How come I can't remember his name right now? That makes me sad. Oh, you're Grood. Cool. I'm Grood as well. Thank you. Happy to see you in here. Father, you've returned. No. It's Brian Shapiro. That's right. That's what it is. Okay. Let me like pull a couple clips while we're just waiting for him.
Wrong when Jimmy Kimmel talks about the Epstein files and he makes a joke about the Epstein files, and then I start discussing Kash Patel talking about the Epstein files.
Oh my God,
Explain to me how
Philippe.
that's whataboutism.
That
Help me
guy was
understand,
rough,
sir.
dude.
You're just assuming that he was told to Pam Bondi, and
Okay.
you don't know
So
if
that,
you're
okay,
trying
so
to make
that's
it that
that's a
easy,
different
that's
argument.
why you say,
All
what
right.
aboutism? What
So
about-
hold on, sir. Hold on, Johnny Go. Hold on a second, okay? You said it was whataboutism, and now you're moving your little goalpost, and now you're saying I'm assuming something.
No.
Okay. No, that's what you're doing. So now I'm going to ask you a question. Hey, now I'm going to ask you a question. give me one logical reason why Kash Patel wouldn't answer that question if Donald Trump wasn't in the Epstein files. Go.
That's not my job. That
Oh,
would be
it's
a
not
word
your
out.
job because you're an
It's not
idiot.
your
That's
job.
why you're an
Okay,
idiot.
but
That would
it's
be a
an
word out
assumption,
of-
Johnny. Listen, it's an assumption based on fact. And here's the facts. In March of this year, 1,000 FBI agents. Who's the director of FBI? Kash Patel.
Yeah.
1,000 agents were pulled to go comb through 100,000, and this is in the news. This is reporting 100,000 pages and expunge Donald Trump's name
Ooh.
from the documents.
Leonard-
So it's the assumption is based in fact. It's an empirical
Leonard,
study.
You're trying
It's-
to speak logic.
It's
to
not
a guy.
subjective at all.
You're trying to speak logic to a guy who's got a 20 IQ. Hey, dumbass, what do you do for work? What about
Dude,
it?
he
Mr. What about it? What
is
do you do for work?
pretty
Don't call me
barbed.
dumbass.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dumbass. What do you do for work?
No, hey.
Respectfully.
Respectfully, what do you do for work?
Respectfully, Mr.
Tell us,
Dumbass.
what do you do for work?
Respectful about it.
Nice.
What do you do?
I'm in IT. I'm in IT.
I got one of those.
Yeah,
It's pretty
IT
nice.
For what?
B money.
Unemployed IT? What the hell do you do for a living? Who hires you? What company
Middle
has
echelon.
hired
Oh
you?
my God,
Hire
Aurora.
a
Yeah, I knew
lame
that was
moron
coming.
like you.
I knew that was coming.
I work remotely. I can work for lots of companies.
Yeah, you could.
Oh.
You could, couldn't you?
No!
I bet you could be the president.
So
I,
he's a stay-at-home dad.
I bet you could be the president of the United
Are you a
States too. I bet
stay-at-home
you-
dad?
Not
I bet you don't
Frogan.
do that. Did he hang up the phone? You
See,
jackass.
but that's what they do. They call names.
So
they
Brian-
curse, they get frustrated.
Well, I
when
call
they
names.
can't.
I
Brian
call names.
Shapiro.
I know, but you don't hang up.
Brian
They get-
Shapiro
They get
is
to the point where they just hang up because
very
they can't make their
barbed.
point.
Hey, sir, what do
So,
you do for a living?
like, if you want to watch some popcorn debates, right? Oh my gosh. If you want to watch like some popcorn debates of a guy screaming at some people just to like have a laugh, he's fun to watch. But looks like Destiny is coming back. Let's
No
go.
feedback, right?
Check, 1 2 1 2. Check.
Hey, you're checked.
Aurora, you ready to watch
Check,
some
check.
Destiny
What's the story
debates
behind
with
Bobby Road
us?
Steamer.
What's the story behind the beret thing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going on Tim Pool's show Friday. I know you've done Tim Pool's show, and I'm going to see if we could trade hats.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Good
see.
luck.
Yeah,
Don't
we'll see
touch
about
it. He'll
that.
attack you. He gets real sensitive
I
about
know.
that.
I know.
It's true.
How are we doing here? Are we good to
Yes,
go? We need to form a line. We have one person here. We need to form a line. This is the legend Destiny over here, everybody. You get a chance to
He
debate him
is a
one-on-one.
legend.
So if anybody else wants to come up and debate, now's the time to do it. Form a line right here. How's our audio? We good? Good to go? All right. Come on up here, young lady. Thank you.
I'm not a lady, thank you. Is that
Got
what
it.
she just
Still on
said?
my stand. Okay.
Did she just say I'm not a lady, thank
Debate
you?
tactics.
I think that's good.
Getting those goggles ready.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Winter. I just have a question.
Yeah. What's
Oh,
up?
Winter.
Why do
That's
you think
actually a
it's
really pretty name, if you ask me. I
Why-
think that's a really
man,
nice
why do I
name.
think a two-party system works? Well, I mean, it's worked for 200 and whatever, 40, 50 years, right?
So,
As opposed to like like a multi-party system or whatever.
so I learned this in government recently.
I hope he's
And
nice to
the
her. She
founding
seems sweet.
fathers, They had a whole federalist
She said
paper
Wednesday.
about
That's a
elections,
great name too.
And that
And as you know, Aurora, I have a connection to that show.
I'm aware that when the country was founded, every original or a lot of the original framers were very much against any political parties. They hated the concept of it. Yeah.
But there's also the fact of if there's a two-party system, it allows one party to have all of the control. By having multiple smaller like factions and stuff throughout the government, it makes it harder for the majority to take control. So because there's two majorities, it's never gonna it's gonna be a back and forth. One party's gonna have control, one party's gonna have control.
That is kind of one of the
Instead
big
it
issues that we're
actually speaking for, like,
running into
everybody,
right now.
It's just speaking for the majority and not everybody.
So I understand what you're saying. Personally, I think when people
Yes,
criticize
I
the
kind of
two-party
love
system, I think they
Enid,
romanticize
actually.
multi-party or multi-faction systems a little bit. So, like in an ideal world, we're thinking, well, in a two-party system, it's easy to ignore like the will of some smaller group of people because their voice won't be heard. But I think the issue you run into when you look at big like multi-party systems is sometimes there'll be these like minority parties, and in order
And they can
for
hold the rest
large
of the
party
government
to
back,
form,
yeah.
coalition government to form a
That's
government,
true,
they end
that's
up
a
having
big
to make a lot of
problem.
concessions to
It's
the
a big
smaller parties.
problem.
And then you have in this world where now people feel like their voices are being heard because just a few like small number of parties are controlling so much of the voice of the government. Similar to in the United States, we complained a lot about Manchin and Sinema, seeming like they had a disproportionate amount of control But I think in multi-party systems, I think you can run into similar issues where you have to form a majority government with like a Green Party or something. They're like, oh god, we have to make so many concessions to this like really proportionally small number of people. I agree that there are issues with like.
I've got my glasses ready.
Multi-party systems as well.
Are you talking to me? Because I've got the glasses ready.
Yeah, I think
If you were
that's
gonna
true, but
buy the trap
sorry,
point.
I had a thought.
You're good.
Oh, poor girl's
So
nervous.
you're saying like a small number of people, but the thing is, when you're thinking like the percentage, there's 8 billion people in this world. A small number of like a small percentage is not a few amount of people. It's like 1 million people. It's 1,000 people. It's 2 billion people. It's not just red versus blue. Like there's so many like subcategories and so many things, and red versus blue doesn't represent. Hold on. I don't think I'm wording this right. Red
Oh, I
versus
feel
blue
bad for
doesn't-
her. She's really nervous.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
my
good.
God. Oh my
the
God,
idea is
poor
that, like,
girl.
Let's say we're trying to vote on
Oh,
what to eat for dinner,
no.
and there's like pizza versus like barbecue, and those are like the two
Oh.
largest groups of people. But there might be.
I
like, a
feel
ton
so
of
bad
other
for
people
her.
that,
Good, I
you
mean,
know, like,
she's
wanna go to
being
some
so
other
brave right
different place,
now.
but just because pizza and barbecue happen to have the most, that's the only thing that gets represented in the mainstream political discourse, basically, right? So even if I might call something like a relatively small party, that relatively small party might still represent the voices of thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of voters, depending on the size of the country. I understand that perspective. There's two kind of like ways to address this. The first way is that ideally, even in our two-party system, there's some room for a diversity of thought because you have primaries where you can have radically different candidates from radically different areas.
Bless
So, for
her
instance,
sweet little
like
heart.
Congresswoman
Oh
AOC
no,
or Senator
Daniel.
Bernie
Oh
Sanders is gonna be quite a bit
no.
to the left of,
That's
say,
an unfortunate
the two,
one,
the
buddy.
two senators from Georgia,
Oh,
Warnock and Ossoff, are going to be a lot more
but,
moderate in their perspective. So even within the same Democratic Party, ideally we're representing like a diversity of opinion. The Republicans used to be like that until they turned into a cult. But like, so even in that, you have some diversity of opinion represented. The second thing is that if we were to truly have a government where every single voice was represented as evenly or as strongly as possible, you might run into a gridlock issue where you can't pass or do anything because now everybody has an objection to a thing, and there's no way to move forward on some particular project.
So, our party makes everything very black and white. Like we can run into gridlock.
Racism.
We can run into gridlock now.
Yeah.
The
Not racism.
the
I don't want to make. I feel bad. I don't want to make fun of her like at all.
Smaller, like more representation in the government is to prevent the majority of taking control. Because right now
She
he
seems
has
very
control of
sweet.
The Congress, he has control.
What?
Judicials are Republican right now. I don't know the number, but I know he has control of the Congress.
Sure.
And
So I understand what you're saying in terms of majority control. I think you have to be careful when you analyze this government like as a government because a lot of things are not working as they're supposed to be working.
because humans are naturally flawed.
No, because Republicans are very flawed. So the issue you run into is that
Yes.
right now,
Based.
the Republican Congress has just completely given up all their power to the president. They're happy to let the president do whatever he wants. Like Johnson's not even seating people right now.
Yeah, I
he's
know,
happy to
dude.
just let Trump, run roughshod over the entire government.
Because they don't want to
And
swear
then
this
you don't have
one
any kind
woman
of
in
accountability.
who's a
Nobody's gonna
Democrat.
accuse
It's
Trump,
crazy.
from the Republican side. So Trump is basically given unfettered access to do whatever he wants. He's openly said kind of that, like, if the court doesn't like a thing, who cares? We'll just keep trying or whatever. So I understand that there are issues with like polarity or with gridlock or lack of action, or it seems like stuff right now. But it's hard to analyze this current government. As
Yeah,
the
because the
government it
Republicans
is,
are
when in
acting a
reality,
fool.
the very type of Republican right now that's happy to see everything get destroyed, and I don't know if it's
Damn it, Daniel!
necessarily prevent that.
Wait,
Go ahead.
when you say that just Republicans are flawed, it makes it very black and white. Because humans in nature, we are flawed. We are selfish, but we are also cooperative. We're very complicated, and because we are complicated, that makes everything else complicated. So by saying that, oh, this one party is bad, it makes like, oh, then this party is the good one. But that's not how it is. There's a lot of black and white in our world, and it's not just black and white. There's a lot of gray area, and by just being like, oh, they're
Yes,
bad, they're
true.
good, or oh, these
Truing.
people are bad because of this and this, and these people are good because of this and this and that, it takes away from like the complexity of how we are in nature. And if we start to understand how complex we are and start to stop making things so black and white, I think
I understand what you're saying, but I think you also have to be careful not to get lost in the complexity, because sometimes there are just bad actors.
Yeah,
and I think that
that's
right now, I think the
true.
Republican Party is like wholesale committed to the destruction.
There
of
are
our
a lot
political
of
system,
people
such
in the
that I would
Republican
try
Party
to,
who
like,
are
besides that, say there's some
absolutely
complexity or
intent
nuance.
on
I don't
fucking
even know
the
if Trump
system
has
up.
enough brain cells to do complexity or nuance right now,
I
and
ain't
every
defending
single
him,
Republican is like
but-
willing to follow along. I do agree that like we've gotten worse with gridlock and we've gotten worse with polarity in our system, and we need to take time to address that. But right now, I think it's okay to be relatively black and white because the Republicans have been just so outlandish on so many different issues. Like, I don't know how I would two sides like blowing up random Venezuelan ships right now, or fighting to deport Venezuelans to, you know, camps in El Salvador that we're paying for, or saying that we can't afford to spend money on our people at home, or we can't afford to help the people in Ukraine, but we can't afford to give however much money Israel wants, or we can't afford to do currency swaps with Argentina. Like these are things that I think it's almost impossible to two sides, let alone all the other like
Crazies it
really
up.
corrupt stuff like the crypto coins and the DOJ stuff and the political persecutions and everything. So, yeah, I think that, yeah, I agree with you in a macro level, but like at this particular moment in time, I think that there is like one clearly bad acting party that needs to be kind of like reined
True. King.
Thank you very much.
King.
If you're having trouble hearing, please come up a little bit
Yes.
closer. We're forming a line here. Welcome to the
You mean
Unfucked America
Destiny
Tour.
or me?
Thanks everybody
Which
for
one?
being here. Come on.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
I'm kind of just winging this.
Yeah,
so,
no problem.
all right. What's your opinion on tough on crime?
What's my I don't know. I don't know. Usually people say tough on crime I feel like are just kind of cruel or mean or don't really care to fix any issues, but like I think sometimes liberals are a little bit dumb on crime in that they either
Stop
pretend it doesn't exist or they're way too
You made
lenient
me
on
blush.
things. So I think just the phrase itself doesn't tell me much, but yeah.
So like like harsher punishments, more strict laws, that kind of thing.
21
I mean,
Pilot
I'm in
sweater.
favor of,
Okay.
like, I wish we had more evidence-based policing and more evidence-based kind of like incarceration stuff. So I mean, like
So
insofar.
the system's stricter.
I mean, in some ways it maybe needs to be stricter, in other ways maybe it needs to be more lax.
So what way should it be laxed, and what way should it be stricter?
And what man, I don't know. I'm not a criminal justice expert.
I have a bachelor's in criminal justice.
You have a what?
I have a bachelor's in criminal justice.
Ooh.
So that's why I'm curious.
We
like,
got
my
a
understanding is,
man with
like, I
some
know it's
big
very
criminal
unpopular,
justice balls up
but
here.
things like broken windows policing, that like there are certain areas that are, or there are certain environments that can induce more crime. Like environmentally, not necessarily like how people are raised, but just there's certain environments that make crime more likely to happen, and that these are areas that can be police heavier. Like that's probably a good thing. When it comes to incarceration and stuff, I don't know in terms of rehabilitation, like if there's more investment or stuff that we can do to help with recidivism, like what it means to have somebody come out of prison and have like a job and everything lined up. Like I know when it comes to people that are addicted to drugs, if you take them out of whatever environment for a little bit and then you put them right back into it, they're going to get addicted again. Like it's always going to happen.
Yeah.
We
But-
agree on that.
Yeah,
That's-
but I don't know
I was
like
just
the part-
curious.
Sure.
That's all. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
What are your ideas? We'll get
Yeah,
to
where are you
yeah.
going, man?
Great.
You got the bachelor's, right?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that so there's all kinds of theories of crime, right? You have labeling theory, where if you label somebody as a criminal, they're more likely to relate with that theory. You also have deterrence theory, though, which says that tougher crime may be able to prevent more crime. Like you said, broken windows theory. I was just more curious because I know more of like a
What's broken
reformative side.
windows
People
theory?
tend
I
to
don't know
think
what that
harsher
is.
punishment means less crime. It's not necessarily the case. Like if we look at
Criminology concept
which
that
countries,
suggests
like,
visible
locking up a bunch of
signs
El
of
Salvador,
disorders
I
such
think
as
is what the
broken
big
windows,
prison,
graffiti, and litter can lead to
the
an
trend
increase in
in
more
science
serious
says
crime.
that it's
Interesting.
going to lower crime at first. It's then going to plateau, and then it'll increase over time. Tough on crime only works in the short term, not in the long term, because you have people who then over and over again create more problems. They distrust in the government. The police may it has to be proportional to the crime they commit,
Yeah.
So if someone steals and you cut off their hands, what's going to happen is people are not going to trust the government in the long run because it's not proportional to the crime that they commit.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So that's what the big one I was going to come with is labeling theory. You label somebody as a criminal, they identify with that label, and then go on to commit more crimes.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I view at the end of the day, I think also when it comes to crime, I kind of view it similarly to like education. Like, how do you make a good student? And it's like, well, there's like 20 different things, and if you change just like one of these things, it's not going to help much. It has to be like a lot of different things. Like if you throw an infinite amount of money at a school, but the kid comes from a super broken home and they live in a really fucked area.
Yeah, they have to want it. They have to, they have to want to get the education.
Yeah.
You can't just tie somebody down and make them do education.
True, but
I
like
feel
the
like it helps
wanting to do the
people.
education
True.
also comes from like parents that are invested in your education too, and they want you to go to school and they like care about.
What do you do when someone's parents don't want to do it and they're not raised to know those values? You can't strap them to a chair and make them.
Yeah,
But
I agree,
at the
that's really hard,
At
yeah.
the same time, they should. could, because education rates, when you get your master's, your chances of committing a crime drop a ton. When you get your PhD, it's almost 0. And so do we make people get educated? Probably not.
Well, I
That's
mean,
not the right
there's
decision.
definitely
But at the
white
same time,
collar
what do we do for
crime
those who don't
more
want to?
common
'Cause
for those
one of the
people,
biggest
though.
contributing factors to committing crime is what? Lack of education.
Sure.
And trauma and all these other things on top of it. What do you do in those situations? I'm curious what your answer to that is. What do you think we should
Well, yeah,
do?
that's why I'm saying like the best thing to do is to Back to the Future and give them a better childhood. But like obviously that's not possible because there's so many.
So like resources.
So like no, I'm just saying that it's like because like. For the parents to be healthier, there's probably some combination of like they need.
This is a
better
decent.
economic
This is a good.
opportunities
This is
so they
probably
can
the
work,
best
so they need some, like,
conversation we've
stable
seen so
city,
far.
They need better. Maybe
This
public
guy seems
transportation,
confident.
maybe
He's
better
got
access to,
good
like,
arguments and
medication
discussion
for
to
health-related
have.
issues. Like there's like all of
He
these
seems
things
well
kind of, like, are
prepared.
factors that play into it, and changing just one. Like sometimes people throw. a
I
bunch of
wish
money
we'd get
into
more
the public
MAGA
school
people
system, and it
though.
doesn't get better in 2 years.
Oh, that
like,
dude
oh,
with
it's a waste of time. It's like, well, a whole bunch of other
the
stuff
Puerto
that has
Rican
to
dude with the
do.
MAGA hat.
It's
That was
more
rough.
of early. Okay, this is a good question now that I thought about it.
Indeed.
Do you think we should put more researches into the youth or into the people that are old, not old, but like adults already committing issues?
I hate old people.
I
I think early childhood development, I think it more and more is like seen as like an incredibly important and formative part of a person's life in terms of determining like, likelihood of being a criminal or committing crimes or whatever later on. So yeah, like investment early, I think is really important. Yeah.
Oh, we agree. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Man, these certainly aren't Charlie Kirk crowds. Maybe one day.
A little too tall. I'm not that tall, man.
Short Kings, let's go.
Hello, and I'm Maddox. Very nice to meet you.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
I got 2 questions for you. So the first one is, I'm not really like a political person per se, but
Okay.
how do you feel about like, I guess society as a whole? Do you think like that society's flawed?
I mean, no, I think American society is perfect.
You think it's perfect?
No, I'm just kidding. I mean,
No.
society has flaws. Or what do you mean by society flawed?
I'm just wondering, like, what flaws do you see in society that make it
Oh
that
boy.
I'll
get where I'm going.
Where do we
Just
start,
man?
man?
Stuff.
What flaws do I see in society? I mean, it's
The
it's a very,
in- the
it's a loaded question,
tribalism
and
is
it's applicable to
probably,
my
like,
values.
the
So
biggest
for things that
one.
I care about,
The
I think one of
tribalism
the
is
biggest
one of the
flaws that we
hugest
have is
things
we
to
live
me.
in like very separate realities at the moment.
Yay!
So,
That's basically what I'm saying.
Information seems to be leading us down very different roads. I think
Me
it's
and
one of the
Tiny.
issues there right now. Yeah.
And
Same
then
page.
My follow-up question for that
Same,
is, do you
same.
think people who do fall short in that sense, do you think they can be forgiven for what they do? Or do
Wait,
think,
are you
like,
saying I'm too
they
loud
can,
or
like,
that
make
the
up for what
volume
they've
is too
done?
quiet?
Can they make up for it? Yeah, of course. Can they be forgiven? I mean, of course. There's an interesting issue of like what is the responsibility of a person at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like especially in a democratic society, like that's a hard one. Like to some extent, like we would all like to imagine that in the 30s, we would have never been Nazis, or in the early America we wouldn't have been.
You're
people
telling me
that
to be
were slavery.
quiet. Maybe
who's
they're
to
too
say?
quiet.
And
Okay.
like how much of an excuse do you have, as life goes on, to be racist, right? Like,
Yeah.
Is that better?
Ideally, nobody's ever racist, but like, if there's a guy who's racist in the 1770s and thinks that like black people are subhuman compared to white people, it's not good. But like, if somebody thought that in like 2025, like we would view that
Yes.
person in 25, like, okay, well, damn, dude, something's not working here,
Yeah.
So,
Of
but
course.
like, that's a sliding scale, and at what point do you give somebody like enough credit or agency to be like, listen, bro, like you can do better than this. Like you're fucking up right now. You should be
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so where I'm going with that is I really have I feel like I have a decent relationship with Jesus. Like I wouldn't say I'm like religious per se, but like I love having that relationship with him. So
I'm gonna
it's, like,
turn
being
into
able
a
to know
cherry.
that somebody's forgiven me
Cherry
for what I've
tomato.
done, even if it's bad. Knowing that I'm forgiven for that, that just makes me feel better. And it's like knowing that in the Bible it says that everybody falls short of God's glory, but He sent His Son Jesus to die on the cross for those sins, so that we're forgiven and that we can have a life with Him. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I understand what you're saying, but I think a really important
Aurora.
part that gets skipped. What do you mind saying? What denomination you are?
You hear this?
I'm a Presbyterian, but like
Okay.
I just say I'm
Do you guys
a
ever
follower
like
of God.
do you like say do you ask like priests for forgiveness or whatever?
No,
do you,
that's Catholicism.
Yeah, okay. So I was born.
I'd
and
love
raised a
to hear
Catholic.
if you
Yeah,
have
we do
any thoughts on
reconciliation,
this.
and
Feel
the
free to
common
put
question
them
that
in
always gets
chat.
brought up in first grade is everybody's like, oh, can I like bully my sister an unlimited number of times and then go ask for forgiveness over and over
Yeah.
again? And the thing that they always used to talk about for us was like you have to be genuinely
Yeah.
sorrowful, and you have to do contrition. You have to
repentful.
make things. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
do things to make things right.
Yeah.
And not repeat the same thing over and over again. So I think that giving forgiveness is one thing, but I think it's important for somebody somebody to realize first that they've done a wrong. Like, you have
Yeah.
to know that something has gone wrong for you to even begin that journey to forgiveness, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I'm not
It's
sure I
like-
forgot.
I mean, I think
It's
that's
okay.
like the whole
I'm just
point
saying
of-
in general, as
what
they
the Bible
talk,
calls it is
if you
sanctification,
hear
which is, like, growing
something that
closer
you
to
want to
God
like
with every step,
comment
like,
on
being
for
able to
something that
repent
you
of
know
those things
about,
and
always
actively
feel
look
free to
towards,
put
like,
it in chat.
being better in a
We
sense of,
love
like,
when
God. That's, like, what
anybody
he's looking for, you
contributes.
know what
Don't
I'm
be
saying?
scared.
And it's like
No one's
there
gonna
might
be
be
mean.
times where
I
we will
promise.
fall short again because we're
Maybe
humans, we can't
Cosmic
control,
sometimes,
like,
but if
we're
Cosmic's
never gonna
mean
be
to you,
perfect.
I'm gonna
Like,
tell him
that's
to
just-
stop.
Society's
he's not here
flawed,
right
it
now
will never
anyway.
be perfect. But like actively being able to grow closer to like God's standard, like we're never gonna meet that. His standard's perfection. We'll never be perfect, and that's why Matthew 5:17, Jesus says that he came down to fulfill the law because he knows that we can't. And it's like knowing that he did that, and that even though like we as people will never be perfect, that gives me a lot of hope. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
Like, being able to be,
Hassan,
like you
Jack's
said,
off
be
to
forgiven.
Asmongold.
Like-
What's up?
Like you said, like there's
Gotta love our
there's like a certain like,
Cuxtony
thing to it. but, like,
content. I can
it's like
forgive
as you
without them
continually grow
acknowledging.
closer,
Helps me to let go if they
you're
acknowledge.
forgiven for, like, the-
Yes.
I know I'm like going in a circle.
I think
Yeah, sure,
that.
okay. I mean, I
nobody
understand
can
your
be
perspective. I'm not
considered
religious
mean to me
anymore,
without
so, but
consent.
okay. What's your
Fair.
second question, or was that?
That was like my follow-up.
Yeah, I
Now
think
I'm
that's
just
really
saying,
fair. I think a lot of
just know
people
just being able to be
that
forgiven,
would resonate with a lot of people.
having that
Like
forgiveness,
you
know
can
what I'm saying?
forgive a
Okay.
person,
Relationship. I
but
guess-
it does
I
make
guess
it
one more
a
thing
lot
that I'm thinking
easier
of,
if
trying
they
to-
like
Actually, no,
recognize
I
what
got it,
they've done
but
wrong.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you
good
very
day.
much. Yeah.
Okay, hi.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Oh, yep, my bad.
Sorry.
All right. So my question is, there's been a surge of controversies recently among Democratic Party political candidates. Folks like Jay Jones, who has said that you should put 2 bullets in the brain of one of his Republican colleagues in the Virginia State Legislature, or Graham Plattner, who is running for Senate in Maine, who has just recently been revealed to have a Nazi tattoo on his right next to his nipple. So
What?
So my question is, Republicans, in my opinion, essentially have no morals for their candidates. That's my
What?
view. So my question is, do you think Democrats should do the same kind of
What?
throw morals to the side as long as they have the letter next to their name, or do you think Democrats
Oh my
should
God.
kind of continue? Oh, they go low, we go high. Take the high.
Oh, he
road.
didn't know.
What do you think?
Apparently, he says he didn't
I think that
know.
where genuine moral disagreement is, then
Apparently
I think
he
that
didn't
you
know
don't
that it was a
support those
Nazi
people.
tattoo and he's gonna
but
have
I mean,
it
like, you could probably be a
removed.
little bit wider for people that have said or
This
done
is
dumb
so
stuff
weird
in
because
the
I
past.
really like that guy,
I'm
but
not
like
gonna
every
make,
once in a while something
a
weird comes out.
specific
But
claim about the Nazi tattoo guy. 'cause
Aurora,
I've
that's
read
that
different
guy
story, but I've been
that
following it
I
recently.
shared, that
I know
main
that's come out,
candidate,
and
the
a lot of
one
people-
that
it's been a
you
big thing.
responded to me on my
you know, like if there's a guy who
on my
I mean, like,
streaming
people can change a lot
Instagram
in
account,
10
and
or
you were like,
20
"Wow, I
years.
really
You
like
know,
this
if he
guy.
did
There
dumb
should
stuff
be
as a
more
kid, he
like
grew
him."
up and he
I
kinda,
get
like, outgrew his
surprised
faith,
when I hear
and,
this stuff
you know,
because
I would look
when I
over
hear
it.
him
But
speak,
if I feel like
he
it's indicative
seems
of his
like a
current character,
smart,
then I'd say,
understanding
well, you know,
guy.
maybe this isn't the best guy to support. That's my view of it.
Yeah, it might
So
be.
what my knowledge of the situation is that he got it while he was in the military, but he still
Okay.
has it to this day. He got it while
Yeah,
he was
but he
drunk.
did
So
say
you'd
he's gonna
figure-
have it
And
removed.
he's a military guy. He's a history buff. So you'd figure if you know what this symbol means, even if you get it while you're drunk, you'd still probably want it removed.
But
Yeah,
you're kind of
like,
assuming.
I'm just not saying it's strong claim because I haven't done the reading on it, but like I've heard this. I've also heard that he referred to it by name as well at like a later point. I saw that come out, but I just haven't dug into it much, so I don't have a strong opinion on it. Like I said, if it's a thing that's like indicative of current character, then I would say this is probably not good.
Yeah, don't lie.
But like in an ideal world, I would
Agreed.
I want it fleshed out a little bit more, just because the conservative side is just so debased these days. These are like the most
Yeah.
unbelievable people ever. That
Yeah.
like even if a dude had Nazi tattoos, I need more information on it. Yeah, but Nazi tattoos are pretty bad though. So I mean, like I just need more information. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
let's
so
do
my
some
question,
research. Hang
though,
on.
more generally, is just if they're the party nominee, do you still think we should support them no matter, you know, even if they've made past mistakes that are abhorrent? Do you
Yeah,
think
you
if they
remember
still
this
stand
guy?
by it, that as a member of the
Aurora?
party you should continue to support that candidate, or do you think?
I mean, I'd vote for him. Yeah, over assuming they're not going to switch to Republican. Yeah, at this point, I would vote for him. Yeah.
Yeah, Neighbor
But in
Rooney,
the
I'm
primary process,
doing
hopefully
2
we could produce
streams on
something
my
better. But
stream
otherwise,
days
yeah,
now.
come
I
election
do
time.
an early
Yeah.
daytime stream
Thank
and then
you.
the late
Thank
stream
you.
at the normal time.
Come
I
on
do
up.
3 hours of my day stream, and then I take
Hello,
a
that's
3-hour
me.
break,
Hey, what's up, what's up?
and then
I
I do
have
my
2 questions.
later
Go for
First
it.
one
Yeah.
is, do you believe the right-wing party or
Feel
conservatives
free
in
to
general are
always
more
tune in.
violent than the
Good
left wing
buddy.
and liberals?
And this is
What do you mean
live.
by violent.
Politically, or just wanting to commit any act that doesn't, like if they don't get what they want or a policy policies are enacted that they don't agree with, that they go out and
I already had
country
the
and
tattoo
commit
covered
violence,
with a
whether
new
they
design. Interesting.
Initially don't mean to start to, or they still end it with
Death
violence.
said, Skull and
regardless
Crossbones
of
says
the
Nazis.
I feel like,
plan,
yeah,
formal,
I
political,
think so, yeah.
agitation,
Okay.
campaigns,
I think there's also
Maybe
this
he
question
didn't know
comes
when he
up a
got
lot.
it, but
I think there's
but he
something
got
to be
it
said
years
for like
ago. He should
status
have had it covered
quo
up 'cause he
stuff
knows damn
too,
well
and
what it
how
means.
this is a very wokey take, but how
So
like
he got the
systems
tattoo in
do
Croatia with his
violence.
fellow Marines in 2007.
So like for instance, in the time of like slavery, right, when slave owning
Oh,
is
he's
legal,
already got
and
it
then you've got
covered
some,
up.
you know, like your Nat Turner
And I
slave
guess he
rebellions
said
and
he's
stuff,
gonna get
right?
it
In
removed.
these
Oh,
systems,
yeah.
it's always the enslaved people who are way more violent than the status
So he
quo
did
people
get it
because they're
covered
doing what's
up.
legal, which is owning slaves, right? But like,
So he found out
that
and he got it
analysis
covered
is
up.
very unsatisfactory. 'Cause like, well, of course, the people who are enslaved are going to be more violent. They're
it's-
fucking slaves.
it's
Like, what the fuck? And of
it's
course, the people who
live,
have the
so I
slaves
don't think we
aren't
can.
going to be as
Sorry.
violent. 'Cause their
Oh,
violence is legalized,
no,
modern day
Aurora.
comparisons, I would look at something like the right kind of
Sorry,
abortion.
you know, I wish I could give special
when you look
treatment,
at
but the rules
conservatives
are the rules.
and the fact that they have like
Can't do
quad back
it.
abortion in however many states they have now, effectively making it illegal. Like if it's a 6-week
It's just how
limitation,
she
it's effectively I would
goes.
say basically illegal abortion.
Oh!
When you look at that, I think if you're a woman, I think if you're pregnant, that would feel like violence to me. That I'm like, oh shit, I'm like locked into this thing now. I don't really need to leave the state. And I don't know if I leave the state and get caught, I might get in trouble. That feels like kind of a little. I would say that's a form of violence, right? So if there was one violent protest or riot in response to a really restrictive abortion law,
I know, I
then
saw
the
a
analysis
neighborhood.
would be, oh well, look, the left is more
That's so
violent here
bad.
because you don't see the right wing killing abortion doctors, even though they have. Right?
New
I'm saying
York and
hypothetically,
Illinois
But
need
I'm
to
saying,
get
like,
their
that
shit
analysis
together
feels
and
a
do
little
what California
crude, or it feels like
did.
it leaves something to be desired. Because like, well, sure, but like if the status quo policy is kind of supporting a kind of violence, and then there's an uprising on the other side. Is it really just the other side that's violent? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. All that said, I feel like the right wing is more violent in general. I think you could justify it even just like on a raw level. But yeah, that's my feeling of that. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I don't
with
know,
my
this
own
tattoo
personal
thing seems
experiences,
like
I mean,
a
obviously
nothing
there could be
burger.
different statistical stats for.
Yeah, I know,
countrywide,
neighbor
what
me.
everyone else goes through.
I know.
I disagree.
This
I
is
think the left side
everything's
is
gonna.
more
This is gonna.
fundamentally
This
violent
is slippery
with things
slope.
that
We're on the slippery slope now.
They don't. They don't agree with, and they're very confrontational. I feel
I'm
like
curious, like what's like an example of that? Because like my counterexample is going to be the immigration stuff recently, ICE. So like, what's the left wing equivalent to that in the United States?
For conservatives being violent in the country?
Well, so I would say that like ICE is a great example right now, especially of like conservatives just being over the top. And like, what's the left wing version of that, or the equivalent, I guess, that you feel where you're like, oh wow, okay, well sure, maybe ICE is in masks and they're doing crazy shit right now, but the left does this.
He's
like,
really
what's in your
lost
mind?
it.
Like,
My only comparison for large scale would be the Summer of Love. I served in the military for 8 years. I was stationed in Portland for 6 of those years, Miami in 2 years. I lived 2 blocks away from all of the BLM riots, to the point where you needed to get permission from command to be able to go in that area, and I lived in that area, so it was a whole special thing for me. I feel like I've been pretty conservative since 15. I'm 28 now, and
but outside of the BLM riots, is there anything else, or is that's a strong pivot point for you, and that's going to be forever?
I think any violent action of like when people turned on Elon Musk, the left side turned on Elon Musk with Tesla factories.
What was that in response to, though? So that's a really great example, I would say, of like a kind of status quo violence, right? So arguably, the USAID cut of that program, which is probably going to lead to over 10 million
I
people,
did
14
see.
million, I think is the last time I saw people dead.
I did see.
Right, and Elon Musk basically led the charge on that, however much he could with his ketamine-addled brain. But when you look at that happening, and then you see people set fire to Teslas in response, I don't know how many that ultimately happened. That is violence, I would definitely agree. But then it's in response to that cut. But I feel like nobody ever sees anything happening on the conservative side, and then they just see like the response on the liberal side, and then it's like, okay, well, they're more violent. Does that factor in at all, or do you consider that at all? Or?
I agree.
I think like I can be
Completely
very
shameless.
reasonable. I can understand both sides with almost anything, even with like abortion rights. I can understand like women's rights of wanting to do that and respecting that and letting people live the way they want to live their lives.
How can you understand the side of cutting USAID, though, on the Elon Musk side? What's to be understood about that? It just seemed like a wholly aggressive, illegal, like, cruel.
I think there are plenty of organizations and programs that get a lot of money that the left side wants and the right side wants. I think both of them are going to affect a large group of people, no matter what it is, whether it's Elon Musk and him affecting that with USAID and cutting all the finances, with a lot of government spending. I don't think it's going to be a win-win for either side. I think people will cherry pick very large events that happen and carry on to that. Like even like we can go back to this, like USAID and everything, or USAID. Like even majority of like my living in the Portland area during 2018 to 2023 roughly. I felt like I had to be very quiet about my beliefs and everything, because I've had friends and family members that live also in the area where they would be kind of excommunicated from work or losing friendships and all this stuff, to the point where it'd also get violent if you were very vocal about having any conservative rights. Obviously, Portland is a very niche city with
yeah, I
with
understand.
its views.
Do you think that you said you were in the military though, right?
Yes, I was.
Remember, don't ask, don't tell.
I do.
Isn't that kind of a similar feeling where you have to remain kind of hidden about a certain belief, and if you say anything, you're going to be kicked out of literally your job?
Yeah, I can understand both sides with that as well.
Both sides of that? Of
like the military and their ideology of how they view people that way, and them wanting to get rid of them if they were vocal about it. Even like what today's policies of Trump trying to remove transgenders from the military. I can understand both sides of.
Well, I don't think that's true. I don't think, because if you say you understand both sides equally, you're saying one side, one thing moved you more to another direction. So it seems like you have more understanding for one side than the other. No.
I can have understanding for one side more than the other one, still not agree with everything that the right does or the left does. I can have some policies that are left that I lean with, some that are right.
Well, sure. So like in 2024, were you Trump? Did you vote for Trump? The last
I haven't voted at all.
Are Tiny and I wearing the same color shirt
Would you
right
vote for
now?
Trump, or do you think Trump was a better choice than Kamala? I guess.
I mean, mine's a little darker
Do you
than
still
his,
feel that
maybe.
way?
Yes.
With respect to like
We're
what
almost
thing, I guess.
twinsies.
I agree with his toughness on crime. I agree with the immigration policies.
So for toughness on crime, that's a good one, I think. Are you still in the military? Or are you out?
I'm out.
Okay. Don't you think it's kind of fucking insane that he's deploying the military to cities for quote unquote law enforcement? Isn't that like kind of the craziest thing you could? Isn't that like literally, not to do like a purpose of the Second Amendment?
Pretty fucking
quote,
insane.
just things that he said, but like, isn't that like one of the worst things the federal government could arguably do is deploy its military against its own citizens and then falsely claim that it fixed all the crime afterwards, like he said in D.C. and in L.A. kind of.
I think when a part of the military gets sent out, when the police department in its own city are being told or just refusing to do anything of.
But that wasn't happening in D.C. or L.A., right?
Not that I know of.
It wasn't, right?
Okay.
So like, when you signed up, were you in the National Guard or whatever, or the
active duty Coast Guard?
Active duty Coast Guard. Sorry, yeah. I mean, like when you signed up for that, did you sign up to go, like if they would have said like you're gonna go to Kansas City and arrest people, Americans that are smoking marijuana or something? Like, is that like in your
marijuana
job description? Is that like a thing you guys train for as law enforcement of U.S. citizens? That just seems like a really bizarre, horrible way to use the military, right? Because the military is used against enemies of the state, and when you're using them against your own population, you're saying that I need to deploy my military against my own citizens.
Well, my only argument with that is if Trump is classifying certain groups or people to be domestic terrorists in the country here, and it's supposed to be fighting domestic or foreign terrorism, whether Trump finally classified Antifa
America
as a terrorist organization on domestic land.
I like it. I like that.
Plenty.
Yeah, but we don't even have domestic terrorist designations. Right? That's the thing that
Marijuana.
Trump just invented.
Okay.
And then
Marijuana's
what is
bad.
Antifa? What does that even mean? Like Trump says that all the Democrats are Antifa. Like the Democrats have been accused for 10 years of using George Soros to fund Antifa rallies, and I don't even know where I don't get any of this funding. Like where is this happening from?
I think blanket statements or blanket statements in general are very crude.
Okay, Trump lives in blanket statements, right?
And I don't agree with him like on those type of things. Like I don't think every Democrat or liberal or anything like that is Antifa, or even if people are protesting, I don't think they're Antifa either. I think people have the right to peacefully protest.
Okay.
He's a smart guy.
Can I just ask you one
Yeah,
thing?
no worries.
Sorry, I don't mean to get involved here, but
Uh-oh.
would you say tough on crime is January 6th insurrectionists, calling them hostages?
I don't know if I
and
like
patriots,
this though, because
and,
Nancy
pardoning
Pelosi is such an
1,500 people,
important
700
asset for us
violent
in
criminals?
Congress.
Is that tough on crime?
Jeez.
He called them
the
patriots.
mic guy. Oh, chill. Oh my God.
It's not the Mike guy. That's Brian
I
Shapiro.
have
Put some respect on his
a
name.
very different view of January 6th. I do think there were bad people that obviously did bad things, and some of them should have been arrested, and I don't think all of them should have been pardoned, because I know some of them went off to commit more crimes after they were pardoned. I don't agree with that. I think criminals should stay in prison, and I know there's two very different views on January 6th and insurrectionists.
I guess it's crazy to me that like there's a very clear line that things have been said and then things happen as a result. And if it was on the Democratic side, people would be losing their mind. But on the Republican side, like it's like the cleanest lines ever. So at an event similar to this, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by, my understanding is basically a young Mormon guy, and everybody, or he was Mormon, he was raised Mormon at least. I saw a lot of conservatives on Twitter saying stuff like, if your church didn't talk about this, you need to leave your church. And there were a lot of weird kind of like feelings about, I guess, like Mormonism bubbling up in places. And then a guy went and he drove to a Mormon church, the guy with the 2 flags in the back of his truck, and he went and he shut it up. And like nobody thinks to make any connection here at all. It's just like completely unspoken about. You have Donald Trump saying things like, come to the Capitol January 6th, we're going to protest, it'll be awesome. You know, they show up to protest the results of the election that Trump told them was stolen. They commit, I would say, an insurrection, at the very least a riot or acts of violence. They get convicted, go to jail, and they get pardoned by Trump, who is now pardoned every single person.
What a force of nature Nancy Pelosi was her whole career, though.
Helping tough
what
on
a powerful
guy
woman,
when
man.
he's made every kind of crime acceptable.
A lot of respect
as long as
for
you're on
her.
his team.
A lot
This
of
is like
respect
the
for
worst,
her.
most crooked crony criminal assisting president of
At least it's a Yimby guy.
So I guess it's hard for me to understand. Yeah, sorry.
My only argument against that is
Seriously,
like the second half
that's
of
so
the video
bad,
of
dude.
Trump.
That's
Obviously,
so
people are going to feel a
crazy.
certain way when he tells people to go protest. Obviously, people can go protest peacefully, even if it's outside of the Capitol.
Aurora,
That's
what do you
legally
think
allowed.
about Nancy
I think the
Pelosi?
second half of the video that was pretended to not exist or be aired on news of him telling people to not be violent, to do this peacefully, and not do things that they shouldn't be doing.
You know that never happened, right?
No, I've seen the video.
You haven't. I promise you.
Okay.
The only in the hour speech that he made, he said, and I know you guys will be going down there and marching peacefully in the Capitol. He never said, don't do anything, don't be violent.
died this
That's
term,
all
we'd
he
have the
said.
votes for the
And then
Epstein
the rest of the
files. I
speech,
know, that's
like,
why
I'm
they don't
curious, in
wanna
your
swear
mind,
her in.
Was it a coincidence that they all happened to go there and got violent and insurrected and delayed the electoral count? Was that like it just happened to happen then?
I think my only issue is with people, Trump claiming or other politicians claiming the request of the National Guard and Nancy Pelosi denying it, whether that was true or false.
Why would it matter, though? I love that. I'm sorry, it's hard for you because it's impossible to defend a position, because that used to be the position, but now we've seen in D.C. Trump had no problem saying he wanted the National Guard to go there
They're
for
gonna wait
bullshit
until it's more
reasons,
favorable
right?
to
For
them after
crime
the
enforcement, I guess. And now he says he
2025
cleaned up all the
special
crime.
election.
He couldn't do that on January 6th. He needed
Just bits
Pelosi
and
for that one.
pieces. Okay.
That part I'm not sure about.
Very powerful
it's
woman.
total. It's not.
No.
Yeah.
Who,
What? Oh,
who
you're
in a lot of
you're good.
ways would control
Okay.
Congress.
Thanks. I appreciate the conversation.
By the way, the guy who's tough on crime is a 34-count convicted felon. I'm sorry.
Yeah!
Had to throw that in there. Sorry.
Trying to be nice,
Not
guys,
that
I'm
Destiny
sorry.
needs my help, because he doesn't.
Yeah, you're real aggressive. Okay. I'm gonna be more
That's
aggressive
his
with you now. So
style.
good luck.
That's
Be
his
careful.
style.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So one of the themes of American history or political history is the increasing
Oh,
power
yeah.
of the executive, right? The executive
Oh,
branch in
man.
particular. When the founding fathers kind of
Oh,
founded the country,
man.
obviously it wasn't as complex. It wasn't even as big, right? You didn't have all these geographical areas.
Yeah.
But as time passed on, right, you know, you have a movement from
For
what is
sure.
it, like dual level federalism.
Sometime
to
when we're
Marvel
on a
King
call,
federalism, right?
I'll
And you
tell you all
basically
about
have,
her.
you know, their incorporation of the like Bill of Rights, right, into states because of the 14th Amendment, right? So I know it's a lot of context, but I'm going to get to the point. Do you think that basically what's happening with the Trump administration is an inevitable conclusion of the expansion of executive power? Because it's been very rare that even if you look back like as far back as Nixon or even at Bill Clinton, it's been very rare that that Congress takes away more political authority to the president than they actually give. So, like, you know, one of the things you can think of that they've taken away from the president is, like, I think
awesome.
the power of
Yeah.
impeachment, right? Which is, you know, the ability to basically not be able to remove stuff from, like, bills they don't want, like, to pay out and stuff like that. And then I think another one is something about, like, the Nixon ruling, I think it was about, like, immunity. I guess, sorry, I know it's, if I'm all over the place.
She is a queen of Congress.
Trump basically is the inevitable conclusion of the expansion of this continued expansion of executive theory, or do you think that let's say maybe he loses this election, Kamala wins this, the next Republican president comes into power. Do you think that we would be seeing basically everything that we're seeing right now?
Yeah.
So I think that Trump is a different type of thing than just expansion of executive power. I think Trump literally fancies himself as like a dictator. So I think it's a bit different. When you talk about the expansion of federal
behind the
power,
scenes all the time.
like I think we saw a big clawback, I would say, in federal power back to the judiciary in the form
I'd love
of
to have,
Loper,
you
the
know,
case that
to
overturned
talk
Chevron.
politics one-on-one with you
And when Chevron was
sometimes,
gone,
too. Whatever,
the Supreme
if there's
Court
ever like a
said,
topic you want to bring up
statutory interpretation is strictly
when
now
we're
in the purview of the court.
talking,
The federal
you
government is
always
not allowed
can.
to decide what you guys think a law from Congress is. We're the only ones that can do that now. So I like that was probably a bit of a clawback. Well, a claw towards the Supreme Court and less necessarily from Congress. But at the end of the day, like Congress, as you said, are the ones allotting a lot of the power to the president because they feel like the president needs the ability to act, with vigor or whatever. I think that the issue with Trump is that Trump is not just acting like as a strong executive. Like, one, he fancies himself as like this unitary executive, so he can act through all things. So Donald Trump is literally giving orders directly to his Attorney General Pam Bondi to arrest political opponents because they make him look bad. Right? That's a unique thing.
Yeah.
That's not like a thing that was ever like, oh, we should let the president do this. That was like Trump was like, I'm going to do this because I don't care about anything.
I mean, I'm not agreeing with Trump or anything. I mean, but there actually has been precedent for this in American history, right? You look at, for example, during the 1920s, right? I think I think during World War I and a little bit after World War I, right? You had basically Woodrow Wilson allow basically people the Palmer raids and stuff like that. This was executive authority of being used to curtail, civil rights, right? Or you even have the expansion of power through Abraham Lincoln, right? During the Civil War.
All right,
they shut down the press
you
and
think
stuff
you
like
can
that.
leave me up in the
So, like,
background for the
I
view,
think it's
good
interesting
buddy?
Because I think that throughout American history, there have been times where the
And of course,
president
I'll
has
be back
grabbed
on
onto more
later as
power,
well.
and then there's times where they let go. And I guess
So I do agree with that, but I would say that there are, when you're doing like legal analysis on stuff, there's this concept called stare decisis, where rulings that are made, there are certain reasons why we let some rulings stand.
Let the case stand, right?
Over time, yeah. And one of these elements, or one of these things that we think about when we think about
I'll see you
good
later,
rulings,
buddy.
are
Have
like
fun working.
rulings or decisions.
Don't
made
do
in
it. Don't
ordinary
do it.
times,
Don't listen
right?
to
If
him.
somebody were to say like, oh, like I think that this is a good decision and we should follow it, and it was made like at the height of like World War II or something. It's like, okay, well, hold on, that was an exceptional time. I'm sure there are times where there were criticisms of Abe Lincoln related to detaining people without charges, habeas corpus, and everything else, and there were criticisms of like too much censored internment camps,
You
obviously.
son of a bitch.
And like these are definitely things that can be criticized, I think, fairly. But it's also important to note these were like responses to exceptional things. Donald Trump, part of his response is he declared an emergency at the border with Canada because of fentanyl coming in. This is bullshit, okay? I think there's something to be said for, like, there were other commentators besides just me, okay? But I was one of them, and I cringe now. And, like, one of my biggest fears was Trump would come into office and do nothing and just take credit for everything Biden did.
I remember you said
yeah,
that,
I don't
yeah.
like, fuck this guy, But, like, to come in and to do so
Okay.
much insane stuff in response to...
If you can leave me up
nothing
so
was
I have the
really
view,
going
that'd be
on. It
awesome.
wasn't
What
like
are you
any
making?
crazy stuff popping up. Like, Trump just came in and started doing a bunch of crazy shit. I think that deserves a different type
course.
of analysis than than analyzing actions in the shadows of like a massive world war, a massive thing. I think it's a bit different.
So I do have a follow up for that because I've watched your content for a very long time, and I think one of the things that you criticized
Bye.
liberals a lot for
I'll
in the
talk
past
to you
was
later.
basically calling conservatives fascists, right? Calling like Donald Trump fascist, stuff like that.
Oh my
So kind of going back
goodness.
to like the context of the expansion of executive authority, right, throughout U.S. history. Do you think, because obviously there are some people who interpret U.S. history building up to this, right? Like there are people who believe that the conservative movement that exists today, this was the building blocks for this type of ruler was kind of established around, I think, like the 60s. Obviously, then you have Reagan, and you have people in Reagan's cabinet who really advocated for, I think, the unitary executive theory. But then you obviously had his vice president, which was George W.H. Bush, kind of more of a moderate. Then you obviously have Clinton, and then eventually you have George Bush, who obviously he expanded the federal government through the establishment of DHS. And obviously, there was all this covert stuff happening in terms of like people being tortured and people being disappeared, right? Because of the war on terror. So I guess, do you think that this is the end result of all this politics, or do you think it's just simply Trump took advantage of the moment, realized that there were already these kind of predispositions, and then is that I'm going to go full in?
I think took advantage of the moment. Like when you talk about like the formation of the Department of Homeland Security, like I understand the need, the idea that we had, because part of the issues I think with 9/11 was our intelligence agencies just weren't communicating well with each other. So organizing all of these under like a a coherent branch that would allow for information exchange easier, like that makes sense, right? And it's in response to a huge terrorist attack, right? Again, so I would view that as fundamentally different than the Trump stuff, where it just seems like George Bush at least was kind of trying to follow, I think, what he thought, was legally allowed or permissible within the office, the purview of the presidency. Donald Trump
I'd
has
take
no
Bush over
care
Trump
whatsoever.
any
Like
fucking
his
day.
idea is every single branch of government should bow to whatever he wants it to do, or it doesn't even need to bow. He'll just do it anyway. And I do think that's fundamentally different. I do agree that the Conservative Party, I would say especially, has been building in this direction. I don't feel like the Democratic Party has been. Like if you compare like
Nope,
the
not even
authoritarian actions
close.
of Biden and Obama and Clinton
I know.
versus Trump. Trump is just
We
on a
used to
whole
think
other
that
level
guy
of
was an
crazy stuff,
idiot.
I would
You
say.
remember?
Okay.
One more.
Yeah, one more. Okay, I just one more question. I'm sorry, because this is the question I really want to ask you, kind
Yeah.
of building all towards this, right? So
Yeah.
something that you said is
Oh,
that, huh?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, something that you said in the past is that you don't think that political lobbying is that much of an issue in the United States. Like you don't believe that like political operatives have that much influence into
They
what
don't just- they just don't spend that much money.
Yeah.
But then how do you kind of square that away with, for example, the current Trump administration, right? You think of all the think tanks that funded, Project 2025.
Yeah,
You
I
think
know,
of all the
for
judges, for
real.
example, in the first Trump and the second Trump administration, right? All the judges who are selected by people like in the Federalist Society and stuff like that, or even like with RFK, right? You have all these industry people from
APAC.
like supplement industries working indirectly with his FDA. So how do you kind of square the way saying that lobbyists don't have control or they don't influence our politics or our or these agencies and their
Because I think the Project 2025
He
thing
did.
was way less about
Cheney not as much,
enriching
but
certain
still
capital
Cheney
owners
has more
with a
than
lot of
Trump.
money, and way more heavily ideologically bent towards reshaping and reforming America into some kind of new place that it sees itself as being, right? Because there are a lot of policies and stuff and things that have come out of this with result to the crazy tariffs, the crazy immigration crackdowns, the horrendous trade relations with other countries. They're all like bad for capitalists. They're bad for business. Our military-industrial complex, our poor military-industrial complex can't make as many weapons for Ukraine as they would be, which you would imagine, right, if that's what they're doing. We've got all this weird competition now with China, and, selling processes over there is a lot harder. I just feel like if money was in control, we would see a lot different stuff. We would see a lot of different things happening with regards to that. So I think the lobbyists can influence things, especially in areas that we don't talk much about.
Oh,
And I'm not gonna say
yes,
they have zero
the
impact,
best
but I
pope.
think ideology is really important, and sometimes people don't look at ideology at all. I
For
think some
one
look at ideology as
major
rather-
reason.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hi, Destiny.
What's up? What's up?
Do you believe that oppressed people have a right to violently resist their oppressors?
Oh, fuck, here we go.
Okay. Give me an example
Here
where you think that
we
shouldn't be allowed.
Probably when it comes to invading territory and murdering civilians. And
So like what Peru did in the 80s with the Shining Path?
I have no idea. That sounds like
Okay.
an Japanese RPG to me. The Shining Path. I don't know
Okay.
anything about it. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that was my only question.
Okay.
Was if you ever thought that was justified.
Oh, okay.
Cucked. He cucked himself on that question. What a bitch.
And you said Bella or whatever, but you have there are just causes for war, but that doesn't justify every action in war. So there could be you can say that we want to resist an oppressor because we feel like we're being oppressed, but you can't run around and kill civilians because of that oppression, right? That you'd still have to have some moral conduct.
Like different example, but remember McCain had that rally you're talking about
yeah,
potential
arguably,
voters, and
yeah.
people were like, Obama's. I love that. I love that moment. I love that moment so much. I love that moment so much.
Hello there, Destiny.
It's such a perfect example of how the Republican Party has fallen. Lil bro got over his skis.
So, I want to go back to about the topic of violence on the right and the left. We can all agree that political violence, no matter what side, is bad.
Well, we don't all agree on that. Apparently, conservatives don't think that their side commits any violence, and it seems like
Yeah.
they think it's exciting and fun and cool. But I would say, yeah, we should all be against political
Yeah.
violence. Yeah.
So, I want to just go back just over this past year because of political violence, okay? And I think a good way to start off is of the big profile political violence, how much was on the right and how much was on the left?
The big profile?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I guess the ones that does actually make more not say headlines, but actually being reported and into the news itself.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, like so I agree that there has been some right-wing violence, especially with like the two like lawmakers in Minnesota. But at the same time, at least over this past year, has been much more from left-wing violence, and I just don't mean on the current Trump administration with Elon Musk and all that, but I'm talking about like people who just hold right-wing views. Or like views that are
because they're in power, right?
At least on the far left.
And the left has all of these new influencers who are like okay with promoting.
So in the early, like the first 3 months, I don't know exactly, but I believe it was April. Of course, there was the pro-Palestinian who murdered the two people who worked at the Israeli consulate in Washington D.C.
Yep.
Coming from just a Holocaust memorial event, and of course his main objective because he was pro-Palestine, as much video shown. And of course, in May, and when in Colorado there was a fire, like another pro-Palestinian through Molotov cocktails.
Don't spend half as much time trying to actually come together and find mutual ground instead of fear-mongering about trans people and Antifa. Might actually have policy, avoided a government shutdown, doesn't get rid of the Trump problem. But yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right.
But also,
to be fair, I still don't think we know if that guy was like a radical leftist, but I know that's controversial. But
you can definitely say on the reaction on social media by a lot of the people on the left who are like cheering it on or saying that Charlie Kirk deserved it. And
I think next Monday, by the way, Maga Daniel wants to come on with me.
So here's something that I think is interesting.
Maga Daniel wants to come on with me and debate that the guy who shot at Trump was definitely a leftist.
But I haven't seen any radical like attack from the left happen where after people see that this guy killed somebody and they go through his social media and they were like, oh my god, this guy's a radical leftist, I can tell he was at a Joe Biden rally. Or oh my god, this radical leftist had like a I'm riding with Kamala Harris sticker on his car. It's always like the very far left, like kind of fringe radical crowd. Would you agree with that?
Partially.
Okay. On the right, I feel like it's bog standard MAGA stuff. It'll be stuff that I see on my mom's. Like if my mom were to, like if somebody were to go out and commit a terrorist attack and you were showing my mom's Facebook page, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's definitely a radical, crazy person. And I feel like it's ordinary.
Yeah. So I think also a main difference is that, for example, when it came to the Minnesota lawmakers who were murdered and assassinated, there was universal condemnation on both sides.
Absolutely not.
Yes,
there was condemnation on the right initially because they thought the shooter was left-wing, because they found that like the No Kings posters or whatever, and because Melissa Hortman had a vote that had to do with, I think it was abortion or something to do with illegal immigrants, and in the first 8 hours, the assumption was that the shooter was left-wing, and there was condemnation. After that happened, the entire right wing stopped talking about it, stopped caring about it. So much so that when I think Caitlin Collins asked Trump, it was either her or somebody else asked Trump in the Oval Office, what about when he was flying the flag at half-mast
dog,
for
I'm a
Charlie,
cat.
and they were like, do you think you should have given more attention to the Minnesota people that were killed? And he was like, Minnesota who? Minnesota what? He had nothing to say about it. When he was asked outside Air Force One, would you call Tim Walz to talk to him about the murder of Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the other shooting of the two lawmakers? And he was like, no, that guy's whacked out, he said. So I totally disagree that there was universal condemnation on the right. The right never condemns violence when they think it has anything to do with their side. I haven't seen it in the mainstream at all. I wish I was wrong on that if you have examples. But I challenge you to look into that. The statements that I gave, I know Trump made, I do agree there was condemnation in the beginning, but it's because they saw those No Kings rally posters and they initially thought that he had targeted her for some like anti-abortion or pro-choice or pro-life vote or whatever. They're like, oh, it's a left-wing shooter. And then they stopped talking about it.
Okay. I guess I'll say like, also like, because I would say besides also, of course, the January 6th, because it is an important event, but again, at the same time, it was over 4 years ago at this point. But I mean, a more relevant thing that happened on America was, of course, the spring of 2024 when all the pro-Palestinian movements happened on university campuses.
Yep.
And while like people can talk about like whether or not they had the free about.
But again, the difference: how many of those people with their speakers getting up and being like, "We want to start off by saying thank you, Joe Biden, and we love Kamala Harris." They all fucking hate the Democrats, right? Yeah. But when it comes to January 6th, why were those people there? Because Trump called them to be there. Do you see the difference? The frustrating part of fighting. Like, I hate most of these people. I don't want to say I hate them, but like, I'm ideologically opposed to a lot of these people. I hate a lot of the thought leaders on the far left, but like politically, it's so different. Nobody is out here shooting up schools with a "I'm riding with Biden" sticker on their backpack. But Trump like is almost indecipherable from lunatic MAGA conspiracy theorist. Like, unironically, no?
That can be on for the discussion, but I'd say like when it comes to again the spring of 2024, we have seen several Democratic lawmakers go into those protests to actually support mainly the squad, which is Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, but we don't like the squad, and AOC is not really part of the squad so much anymore.
So support for that movement, and it was shown that in several of those instances they were blocking specifically Jewish students from entering campus or sections of campus and making them feel very unsafe.
Yeah, but like AOC, first of all, so you're pointing to the two furthest left-leaning people, right, in the Democrat Congress. But then also, two, they've had to answer for that. Like, people ask them questions, and they've had to disavow that, right? Oh, no, we shouldn't be blocking Jewish students from going to school. We shouldn't be violent at any of our protests. And a lot of the far-left protesters fucking hate AOC because they feel like she's been too moderate on these things. Like, meanwhile, Donald Trump is like, directly and literally, like, can you think of a single equivalent statement to after Erica had her performance at the WWF Charlie Kirk Memorial or whatever, right? When Trump comes on and he says, Charlie Kirk says that he wanted to forgive his enemies, and I want people to know I hate my political enemies. Like, what's an equivalent Democratic statement to that from leadership, from lawmakers? Like, there's nothing.
Okay.
In terms of, like, spreading conspiratorial stuff about, like, most... I don't know if it's... No, maybe Ryan knows. I don't know. I don't know if a single cabinet member... Maybe Rubio did acknowledge that Biden won the 2020 election.
Yeah.
I think they were almost all asked this question, and all of them refused to answer.
They'll say he's president, but they won't say he won a
Exactly.
free and fair election.
he's the president.
Yeah, they say that. That's a dogwash, right? Oh, well, Biden's the president. So what is the equivalent to that on the left, right? That's crazy to me.
Well, actually, I have to say, like, during most of the Trump's first term, many Democrat lawmakers or, for example, Clinton, ever since the 2016 election to 2020, always said that Trump was an illegitimate president.
So I think she said one time there is a larger thing she was talking about, but when she was talking about, like, illegitimate president, it was in the context of, like, the way that his conduct is, right? Yeah, I don't think she was saying, like, nobody, like, they try to make this claim that people said the election was rigged or whatever, and there might have been some fringe voices that said that, but again, like, we can find quotes, but, like, look at the behavior. Hillary conceded the election the day of. So did Kamala Harris, right? In 2020, Pence had to walk out on stage and say, we're going to wait till all the votes are counted, because Trump tried to declare himself the winner. And today, they still refuse to even acknowledge the outcome of that election, which is insane to me. And I think is indicative of potential bad behavior in future elections. Like, that's really bad. That's really scary, right?
Yeah, that being said,
hold on, wait. Okay, because this is a fascinating reaction to me. You're, like, hesitant. Like, in my opinion, I would exile if I was the dictator for a day.
No.
These people would be exiled from the country permanently.
What up, hell yeah? How you doing?
I'm asking, like, how is it in your mind? How is it like? Yeah, you know.
No.
They tried to coup the government in 2020, and yeah, you know, they don't.
That username still trips me out, dog.
And that's kind of bad. Isn't that, like, crazy?
Yeah, I definitely agree that there's definitely after all the court cases were dealt with, Trump should have been definitely more like. I'd say less hostile.
Okay,
definitely less hostile in his rhetoric.
I understand what you're saying. I'm going to even disagree with you. It shouldn't have been after. None of those court cases should have been started, because almost all the court cases were started on bullshit, fabricated evidence.
Yes.
Remember Sidney Powell's Kraken?
Most of them just got fucking tossed right away.
The outcome of the defamation suit that Dominion filed against Fox News. They were all lying about the Dominion shit. They knew they were lying about it, and they were spreading lies.
They got sued out the ass.
Giuliani at the Trump campaign. So, like, the lawsuits really, a lot of them shouldn't have even started because they knew they were built on bullshit. We saw that how many times we see videos in was it Georgia?
I think you can change it, my dude.
Where they were pretending that those ballot boxes should
I'm pretty sure you can change it.
Videos. They were just put under and then they were taken back out to count. So even the lawsuits were starting on a
bullshit
foundation.
if I do this, right?
This is not good.
Can you change it?
They refuse to acknowledge any of this. Wait, let me one more thing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so I guess like.
So one question I'll ask, and then you can respond and then ask.
Right? Or no?
What is like any equivalent behavior on the Democratic lawmaker side, on like a Democratic
maybe you can't.
Side? Not somebody that Republicans want us to look at, like crazies on Twitter,
Whatever.
but like what's an actual like large Democrat
testicles?
What's the equivalent?
Yeah, it's fine. I get you, brother. You're good. I know your heart, my dude.
We look at that, but it's definitely not my strong suit. But the main reason I came up here was definitely said, especially when he said that more violence on the right wing side than the left wing side. When I experienced, at least, I experienced more like I won't say violence, but definitely a lot more hatred from people who are on the left, especially when the whole pro-Palestinian stuff started. And I know it means, and I don't mean the general left, the general right, because I think most part those people are mostly civil.
Yeah.
I say more on the far
And
right
that's
than
most
far.
people, but they're not
Is
the
that really
loudest,
surprising?
right? That's
Like,
the
if I
problem. is
put
we
a
don't
bunch of
hear them
pro-Israel
very
people, a bunch of
often because
pro-Palestinian people together,
it's
what
the
are
more
pro-Israel
extreme
have to be
people
mad
who
about?
are going to
Israel's
be
gotten
way
everything
louder
it's
than everybody
wanted
else.
over the past 80 years, but like over the past like few years especially, right? Like if you're an Israeli, simp, what do you have to be mad about? You literally gotten the fucking world handed to you. It would make sense to me that pro-Palestinians would be super mad in that situation. And in a scenario where you have 100 Israeli supporters and 100 Palestinian supporters in the same room, I would expect the Palestinians to be more mad. Does that necessarily make them more violent? I mean, I guess maybe statistically there's going to be more violence, but the status quo massively supports the Israelis, so the Israeli supporters. So wouldn't you expect that?
I would expect more civil debate because one major thing, again, as I alluded to initially, was that of the murder of you go outside the conflict zone itself, more the violence that can happen in the West between Israel and Palestine.
Oh, it's just on Destiny's live chat. So this is live right now.
And sadly, it turned more deadly.
On his
Yeah,
channel.
I don't disagree with that. But again, I would
So
also
it'll
kind of
probably
expect
be on YouTube in like a day
Why
or
would
two.
any pro-Israeli initiate any violence at all? They're getting everything they want. Right?
More civil debate, ma'am. This is a Wendy's.
If you say that as a pro-Israeli, I don't feel like as policy-wise you can say that, but when it comes to having seen DC, especially not only online but with people that I used to be friends with, be very I want to say violent, but very I would say more supportive of
violence.
What happened on October 7th.
Yeah, it's
than-
true.
Sure.
I mean, it's
And
just
so,
more
I
and
can
more
agree
you
that
see
that's bad.
people
I'm
who
sorry,
used to be like normal people
Hold on.
be
So
okay
here, this is
with
my issue, okay? And I
violent
bet you
rhetoric
can even
and
catch
shit.
me
And it's
saying
really
because I've
scary,
been so
man.
mind
It's
fucked by
really
the
scary.
Republican media machine in this country, right? Is it feels like left-wing people are more violent because a lot of them seem to support pro-Palestinian violence or October 7th or whatever, versus right-wing people they don't support stuff like that. Maybe I can I might have even said statements like this in the past. But so much right-wing violence is seen as acceptable or normal.
Yeah.
Why is Donald Trump deploying the military against his own cities? But when Republicans support that, they're not seen as violent for being supportive of that. But in my mind, that's fucking crazy.
It is fucking
And there's just not
crazy.
much care that seems to be paid to that because Republicans just don't pay much attention to it.
Okay.
Or we look at you brought up legitimate instances of crazy pro-Pally people committing violence in the United States.
True.
But we have mass ICE dudes that are
Yes!
terrorizing parts of the United States right now. But that's seen as acceptable or normal. And
Which is
I don't know how
insane!
Republicans control the narrative so much when you see Christy Nome walking on a building and looking down at a guy in a fucking frog suit saying that the Portland Antifa super soldiers are here to take over. I wish that I would encourage people to pay attention more to right wing
Portland
violence is
Antifa
so kind of
super
status quo-y and normalized, and because they don't have to do anything. If I'm a right wing dude, fucking ICE is beating the shit out of brown people, and the military's going everywhere and doing standing around and wasting taxpayer money. I guess I don't have to protest, I don't have to be violent. They're doing it for me.
Yeah,
and then there was any left wing violence in response. Not that I encourage or support any left wing violence, especially because I disagree with most of the people on the far left that are violent. But damn, it sucks for them to say man, we're so violent and the right is never violent, I guess, even though the right has the establishment violence right now,
Okay, yeah, no worries. But
Yeah, you have the final word on
hopefully
that.
I'll let other people speak. But I guess we can agree to disagree on some issues that weren't discussed today.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate it.
Well, that was civil.
We have
that was
about
a good
30 minutes. We'll
conversation,
try to
I
get as
think.
many people as possible in here.
I have a bit of a more moral question for you today.
Oh boy, what's up?
Do you think it could be morally justified if I shock the shit out of my dog just for moving?
Just for moving? Shot him or shocked him?
Shock.
I think it would depend on how many viewers you had at the time and how important he was. The overall framing of whatever stream you were broadcasting.
There was a lot of people watching.
Yeah, so that would be the most important question. Yeah.
So do you agree with it? If there was a lot of people watching and
Yeah, it's a cute ass dog. It should stay in frame all the time. Why the fuck does he need to move around the house? His mom and family are in that house. Okay, maybe the
Yeah,
dog
that's
will
why
eat them.
he's there.
Yeah, exactly.
You related to Christy Nome?
No, that was a Hassan joke.
Oh, Hassan joke.
Not a Christy Nome joke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was all I have.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Interesting question. Yeah, I like it too.
Hi, Destiny. I'm not too aware of what your campaign's about, so I'm not sure how well you're unfucking America. But one of my main question is, just for the campaign in general, is what do you think the main root cause of our, I guess, economic inequality and dystopian area we're kind of venturing towards in with America? What do you think are the main causes right now?
For economic inequality, I think there's
I think capital is very powerful right now. Like if you own the like means of production, I think that there's like huge, you could say rents, I guess, but there's like huge value that you can extract from that. And I think there's a growing divide between, not to sound too Nazi-ish or whatever, but I think there's a growing divide between like IQ-related work. So like society
100%.
right now like super selects for computer programmers and people that can sit on a fucking computer all day and click buttons and be white-collar work or whatever, as opposed to people that do more manual labor. That the education and training is not as big, and then there are bigger payments that you make over time in regards to your personal health, your body, and everything. I think that divide is growing larger and larger, and I think it plays out even sometimes geographically, where you see like people that live in cities and in more educated towns or whatever are like becoming more wealthy away from more poor people too. But there's two different kinds of wealth inequality, and one gets all the attention and the other doesn't. The first one is just like the billionaire obsession, which I think is fucking stupid. I don't care how fucking rich Jeff Bezos is or whatever. But then there's a second
I know
thing
he's
that
open,
nobody
does
seems to pay
open
attention
stuff.
to because you motherfuckers all
I
like
don't
to
know if
pretend that
that's
your college degrees aren't worth
necessarily
anything. They
cucking.
actually
Cucking's a
are.
very
When it's like
specific
it's
thing.
the growing divide between kind of like the wealthy, educated working class versus like the wealthy,
But I mean,
educated,
if
like
he likes it and
maybe
he's
like
happy
people
and
who are
he is a
like the
cuck,
upper
I don't
class,
really care.
Workers, and then you're kind of like middle class and then working class workers. I think that divide is growing too. You know.
Cool. And then talking about the economy right now, I know there's a bunch of people.
Go for
so
it,
wrap
you're
up. Do you think our immigrants, illegal or not, provide better for our American economy right now, or no?
I mean, it depends on what you mean by that. Broadly speaking,
blue
like,
collar, I guess, mainly.
Well, I mean, like, to an economy, resources are important, and one of your most important resources is labor. So, like, any legal or illegal immigrant is going to make your GDP grow. Fiscally, illegal immigrants are technically good for our budget because typically you get them at prime working age. Like your first 18 years are kind of a waste, or they're a drag fiscally on any state. So if an illegal comes in and starts working at 20 years old, you've skipped that whole initial investment period.
Yeah.
And then they also typically work on, they're either paid cash or they work on stolen social security numbers. So they're paying into social security and stuff and they're not getting anything out of it. So fiscally, they tend to be beneficial. And then in terms of like consumers, they tend to be beneficial, more workers, cheaper products, or whatever else. Business owners, they tend to be beneficial. There are arguments that are made that for certain displaced local workers, there could be like a depression of wages, obviously because you've got more people working. So that was a very boring answer, but yeah, I think overall they tend to be a boon to the economy. There are certain like populations that they can negatively impact potentially. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Was that it? Would you have a prescription, or what were you gonna? Or an opinion, or?
I just wanted to hear my opinion. I agree with your opinion.
Oh,
so
good. Okay, good job. Good opinion. You have a great
I'm on your
opinion.
side. Thank you.
Okay.
Free Palestine.
Okay, thanks.
There it is.
Oh, I didn't see that line over there. Okay, I thought it was just up front here. Okay, I got you. You're Russian? I didn't know that.
I'm definitely not Russian.
Oh, okay.
How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
I had a question. What do you think is the biggest issue with the Trump administration? Like, what's your biggest fear?
The biggest issue with the Trump admin.
Yeah, definitely different things.
I mean, I would say it's his disregard for rule of law. I think that there are certain systems that when you start to disregard these systems, like everything else kind of doesn't matter, right? So like arguably like freedom of speech, like if you get rid of freedom of speech, you kind of don't have any other right because now your ability to speak on any other right is compromised. So yeah, when Donald Trump seems to not care what the actual written law is, and it gives him the ability to do anything, I think that's a really scary world to be in.
Okay. Now, the reason I asked that, it's going to sound strange. I was the one that authored the essay, Has Woke Gone Too Far?
Okay.
And in there, we talked about executive or unitary executive theory. Trump packing the courts, getting the lame duck presidency with Obama, deploying troops to the cities. How do Democrats stop that? Because obviously we've known about that for like 8-10 years now. Nobody did anything, and everything they put in Project 2025 has come to fruition with no backing.
How do Democrats stop that? The thing that I've said, and I don't know what this would look like, and it doesn't fucking matter because nobody's going to do it anyway, but at the end of this administration, ideally when a Democratic administration comes in, I personally think there needs to be like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Like, there needs to be a reckoning or an accountability project for what's happened, because we can't just like step into the next admin and pretend that nothing here happened the way that it did. Like, I think that the Conservative Party has lost like the moral high ground on literally every single topic they could ever pretend to care about. You can't be the party of free speech and deport people because they're pro-Palestine. You can't be the party who is, like pro-rule of law while Trump is literally personally ordering around his DOJ to go and prosecute political enemies. You can't be the party of anti-corruption and you hate Hunter Biden while Trump is literally cutting deals with his family and behalf of his son and with his crypto coin scams. Like, they've lost the moral high ground on every single issue, and we can't just like moonwalk into 2020 and pretending that nothing I don't know what exactly that process looks like, but there has to be some kind of process in line for that.
Okay. And then kind of
Yeah,
going
go.
into that reconciliation idea. Constitutional convention. Bad idea, good idea?
I think it's a bad idea. So I thought about this a lot. The idea that like we need to change the laws or change the Constitution, but the reality is that like he's breaking the laws and they don't care about the Constitution. I think that it's a mistake to try to make a perfect system that will capture every bad actor. Nobody design like if you and I were to sit down and play chess, right? I don't know the formal written rules of chess, but well, I guess I do. But like I don't know if there's a rule book, but I'm guessing in the rule book there's not a rule against me like stabbing you, right? So like if I were to start bringing knives to chess games to kill my opponents, nobody's going to say, okay, we know this team is going to do this. How about in the next tournament we make it illegal to stab your opponent in chess?
I did do
right?
it.
Well, this is a person who's not playing the game in good faith, obviously, right? So when you look at like the Trump administration, you look at the way they're acting. How many times, did we hear Vance throw that stupid Andrew Jackson quote around of like, well, if the courts have made their rulings, let them enforce it? Or how many times have we heard them say things that are just completely with disregard? Like, I don't know if I've heard yet a Solicitor General argue in the merits of any fucking case in front of the Supreme Court. These same people who hate process and procedure wrap themselves in it when they have to defend the merits or substance of any fucking thing that they argue. So, I feel like this is not an administration that plays in good faith. There is no rule, there is no constraining force that's written down somewhere that would restrict these people. It has to come in the form of like accountability or consequences. Like, there needs to be some demonstration to the American people that like, hey, if you act this way, like you're not going to get away with it. This can't be this way. It can't be like that.
Right, and the reason I was asking is because Roe v. Wade, we had it in case law. It wasn't enshrined in the Constitution or in any amendments, and it got overturned. Being proactive like that would have prevented January 6th as well. They used judges of elections within the article to describe how they were going to be able to actually have Mike Pence overturn the election. Those are things that Democrats knew about. They could have enshrined.
Well, like for January, or just real quick on the Roe, and then you can. But like for Roe, I agree. Having a law for that maybe would have helped a little bit more. For January 6th, they were trying to break the law. They knew they were breaking the law. Anytime a Republican says this is constitutional, that's code word for we're saying it's constitutional because we want to break the Electoral Connect is what they were trying to break. But yeah, go ahead.
And then getting to that idea of them kind of pushing the boundaries,
shattering the boundaries. Yeah, go ahead.
To say it lightly, I guess. We obviously have term limits. But we have had presidents who had 3 terms. Obviously, that amendment got put into the Constitution or whatever. Technically, Trump could get a 3rd term if he was elected House Speaker, Republicans won the presidency, and both Vice President and President abdicated. And we have no prevention of that because he wasn't technically elected to office. He was appointed through the succession line. There's Democrats really have a lot to go against at this point, and I'm just curious because you have one of the biggest voices. What kind of policy do you think could prevent this? Because
I understand what you're saying. I don't think there is one. Like I don't know. Do you have like legal background at all, or that there's like that argument is so dumb that he could be appointed or whatever. But that's because like if you understand it's just the 22nd Amendment was the one for term limits. Like the understanding is that like you can't do that. What you just said.
But you also can't put fake electors in, and that happened. Nobody got prosecuted.
True, and I would say even more strongly that on the 14th Amendment, they made a similar argument for like no person shall, be like or whatever, and it's like, and they're saying, well, that they weren't saying it's illegal to or whatever.
Convicted of insurrection,
yeah,
so
it was.
Didn't
but
apply.
The way that they read the language was really stupid on that, and the same arguments that they made for striking Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, I think they could use to strike that section of the 22nd Amendment. But going back to what I said before. There is no rule that you could make to restrain like a bad faith actor.
So we just have to take it as it comes, then, huh?
You have to have people that are willing to play within the rules of the system, right? When Obama wanted to, I think it was for the drone strike of the American citizen overseas. When Obama wanted to do that, Obama's approach wasn't, I'm going to fucking do whatever I can because I'm the president. He went to the Office of Legal Counsel and he sought their legal advice. He's like, do you think this is something that the president is legally capable of doing? And when a person's acting that way, like you can tell that, he's at least acting like he feels like he has some kind of constraints. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has gotten rid of criminal immunity or gotten rid of criminal liability for the presidency. That's just crazy to me.
Like the courts, though, there was no preventative measures. We knew that they were going to try and get the lame duck presidency excuse. He got
but I'm saying for like
his immunity, and it just continues and continues, and it
for
makes
the criminal
Democrats and leftists look helpless, and their constituency is left out to dry.
Yeah, I agree. There just has to be some kind of accounting for what they're doing. But say for the criminal immunity thing, there's nothing we could have done to prevent that, right? Nobody would even think to pass a law that's saying the president can't do crimes because obviously the fucking president can't commit crimes. What a stupid thing to think. But then the Supreme Court comes out and says, well, actually, maybe he can do as many crimes as long as he's the president. So how would you even write a rule against that, And I feel like there are just an infinite number of circumstances. there needs to be an accounting for from the top down, politically, on our media level, on our every part, where Republicans just can't feel like they can come in and act like soulless demons and get away with it every single time. I just think that's crazy. Yeah.
I'm gonna finish. This
yeah,
is
go
my
for it. Yeah.
proposed solution.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
To be proactive,
Yes.
We have these outlines from Project 2025. We have history of the Republican Party and how they operate. A simple solution is, instead of focusing on rhetoric, I kind of like what Gavin Newsom's been doing, trolling Trump on Twitter, but that's not governing. So if they came up with actual policies to prevent this, it would give people a reason to vote for them, instead of just saying, oh, they're the antithesis to what the Republicans are trying to push.
Yeah, I wish I could agree with you, but I feel like American citizens don't give a fuck about policy. They like the trolling. That's all they that's all they see. That's all they care about. That's all they think about. Like nobody cared to hear about Project 2025. It's the only reason I didn't, talk about it as much on my stream, is because it seemed like it was kind of boring to people. They wanted to hear about like inflation and the economy and how epic it
like
is.
you said, top-down responsibility. If you have a platform, if you understand the material, you have that duty to do.
True, but we also
need
need our elected officials to push on it, but we need our media to push on it too. I hear this thing said so much. It's so funny by like left-wing media or by far leftists even. They'll say things like the Democratic Party messaging is so bad. The Democratic Party messaging is so bad. They don't say that on Fox News, because they do messaging for the Republicans. They wouldn't say Trump is so bad at messaging on this. They just help Trump message on it.
But that's authoritarianism at its finest.
Sure, and I'm not saying on the left we have to be like as crazy, but I'm just saying that like on the
Prisoner's
right.
dilemma. Prisoner's dilemma. I think it would be a viable tactic.
Sure. Wait, why are you saying that?
I mean, it kind of worked with Gavin Newsom. Obviously, to be honest, I don't actually support him. He
Okay.
kind of lost my support. I am technically a never Trump Republican.
Sure. Okay, I only ask because I've been talking about prisoner's dilemma a lot on my stream.
Yeah, I watch your content. Yeah,
oh, okay, yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. But like, there has to, like, it can't be that like every time somebody on the left says something, they're getting fucking railed from every single conservative and everybody on the left and everybody on the far left, and it's like, there has to be some kind of like unified messaging. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up?
Oh, this is a little high. Hi. Damn. Thank you, bro. It's pretty awesome to see you. I watch your stream pretty often.
Cool.
And I'm not really trying to argue, but I just have kind of a question for you about the future and just kind of hope in general.
Okay.
I want to ask, when you talk about unfucking America, what does that vision actually look like to you? Because a lot of people right now feel like the country's already a little too far gone, with guys like Stephen Miller, Russ Vought, Mike Johnson, and of course Trump still shaping this movement. Without being too doomer about it, how do you stay hopeful? And who, if anyone, do you look to as examples for rebuilding faith in our institutions?
So I mean, we've had a civil war before, right?
Yeah.
So like we've had times where this country's been in a dark spot, and we've seemed to find our way back, to working. We have for 250 or so years, and hopefully we continue on that path. We're in a kind of a bumpy road, to say the least, right now.
Maybe next
Hopefully we
time.
kinda make our way back.
I'm actually probably gonna end the stream for now. I will be back in 4 hours, friends, and I will see you all then. Everybody have a beautiful time. See you later tonight. Bye-bye.